ironing board.
Aw, everybody's all nice and tall and dressed up.
Mike, we are live.
So are you.
We are live to the world. All right.
Is this what you wore last time? Or you had a different leather jacket?
No, I had a sweater last
phone near their microphone?
I don't have mine.
Is this your microphone? This one's yours, your Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me.
I got mine on.
I got this in, I know this is going to sound so pretentious and bougie, but I actually got this in Rome last year at a consignment store. And I was like...
Rome, Idaho?
Yeah, actually.
Rome, Idaho.
I was there for the... Oh, my mic's not even on. I was there for the annual Potato Lovers Conference. For those who identify and love potatoes. I was like, hey, leather jacket. And I'm so sorry for the vegans out there, but this is real leather. I'm so sorry. But I believe 80, 84, 85. Yeah. It had the date on it. But dude, man, I understand why people do the real leather thing, dude. This has gone through hell.
It goes through so much, and like imagine how many people before you were wearing it too. Yeah, so it's just like it lasts a while.
Interior.
Yeah.
What?
My
Cool.
favorite thing.
Actually, I kind of use the bathroom. Do you have a minute to use it? Is the toilet better?
Was it sick?
No. Okay, so maybe I haven't looked. So I'm like, maybe I'll just wait.
Boo-boo-doo-doo-doo. I've got so many wires. Oh yeah, time to go in the chat. I don't know what that is. Oh, I don't know what my password is. Let's try to guess it. Let's see. Hey, there it is.
Okay.
It worked. To be
Zelda? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen.
Listen. Hey. Listen. Hey. This is funny. Tawicked says leather clothing is a desecration of a corpse. That is the most metal thing I have ever heard.
So is plastic, man. I feel like that's on like a way more hardcore level, dude.
Plastic? Explain yourself.
Dinosaur bones, man.
Yeah, but I mean, our cars run off its like old blood. Cool.
Yeah, all of its old blood, muscles, and skin.
But I guess this is pretty Silence of the Lambs when you think about it. When you're wearing leather.
If you think about it, yeah. I mean, we humans, we're pretty metal.
I think so.
My favorite.
I don't know if you.
My favorite meal is eggs. I mean, come on, that's
dude,
pretty metal right there.
Have you seen that recipe? Or like they took a recipe and they turned it into a meme that was like, take the egg and coat the chicken with it, and then like the metal translation was. Take the it's not that pleasant, but it's like you get the picture. It's like you're taking the egg. Yeah. So I was like, that's the most metal thing I've ever heard.
I've seen this meme.
Oh, I'm gonna pull it up and just show you. Chicken and egg recipe metal.
Here's the deal. Jared is running late.
Okay.
I want to hold the show for it, so we're going to start the show per normal because we need to release Space Mike and we need to release you back to the conference too, right?
Yeah.
So, we're going to start the show on time, then we're going to stop after the first segment.
Okay.
Get Jared on board.
Sweet.
We can pre-record Jade handing off too.
Yeah.
We can do the commercial, we can do her handoff, and then we can stop and get Jared online.
Let's do that. And she filled you in on how we want to throw to the second segment?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We might have to run it a couple times, but that'll give him a little extra time too.
That's fine. So we're going to try the Capcom handoff for segment 2. So run it all the way through the handoff. Give me a clean toss point, and then we will stop the show. Bring Jared in. Do what we need to do for that. We will likely stop between 2 and 3 as well, and go from there. If we need to release you, then I might jump on comments also. So it'll be you, it'll be Jade, you and me. That work?
Cool. I mean, I could stay for comments if you'd like, but you know.
Whatever your time is, I want to be. I know that. I mean, you do the show every week.
Right.
The conference only comes once a year.
Okay.
It's only here.
So then, yes.
It's only here
Okay.
like this year. So
I agree.
I
Okay,
want to
so
make
I'll
sure
bounce
that
after this.
you're smart with your time. Okay,
Okay.
cool. So on that note, 5 minutes, and we're recording.
Awesome.
Jade, are you done with that?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna definitely get rid of it right now. Just to go.
And that's a tall, not a grande.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Johnny J. Hello. You're in Phoenix, Arizona? You need to seek me out.
Athena, Mike, and Jade, can we do a run through the open, please?
Yes.
Sure.
Mike and Athena, you have images in the rundown.
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
Open. Okay.
Yes.
I need to reload this. 21.
I should have maca more often. I feel great right now. Instead of, like, usually I feel like when I get crashed when I have coffee, but I had maca. Have you guys ever had maca?
No.
It's like
Maca?
this powder, yeah, that gets found in a lot of smoothies, but I decided to randomly buy it because it was at Trader Joe's.
Matcha, you mean? The
No,
green stuff?
maca.
Maca.
M-A-C-A, yeah.
Benjamin Copy, you want to do a run
It's
through
like
the
a
open?
fruit.
Oh, I might have had that. Yeah, I thought it might have been matcha.
Yes.
I think I've tried that once.
I'd like to run the open.
Okay.
You're gonna run the lower third.
Oh, yes, yes, I need to, that's, I already forgot that I was doing that, so it's a good thing you brought that up.
It's like apogee and Jesus. Apo-Jesus. I like that name.
Hey, NASA live streams.
I was just about to say hi to them, too. I'll do it. Hi, NASA live streams.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yes.
So,
We're doing the open practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to practice the open. Mike, did you look at the script?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's short and sweet. You're gonna follow Athena still, but Jade's gonna be saying a lot less. All right, here we go.
hello and welcome to The Conversation. My name is Jade Kim and I will be your host for today's show. Next to me, I have an Athena and I also have a Mike who will be bringing you some neat stories today. And of course, the show would not be able to run without, of course, Adetta right behind me. So today in news we have...
Grande-sized black hole.
Hold.
Yeah.
In the script, you're just Jade. This is Athena. This is Mike.
Oh.
Don't introduce me at
Today
all.
in news, we've
Oh,
got.
got it.
we're-
Okay.
We're
sorry.
shortening it up. We want to keep energy up.
Ah, got it. Okay.
So energy, hype monster,
Got it.
and short and sweet.
Okay, got it.
Cool.
So just stick to literally what's... Okay, sorry.
I mean, you can throw your own spin on it,
My own
but
twang.
keep the
Welcome to
the,
tomorrow.
the rocket specialist introduction out of it.
Wait, keep the rocket specialist?
No,
No,
keep,
no,
keep
we don't
the
need our
rocket
Keep it
titles.
out of it.
The
Okay,
titles
got
out
it.
of it. Yeah.
Okay, neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
And no need to draw attention to the man behind the curtain.
Hello and welcome to The Conversation. I'm Jade, this is Athena, and of course we have Mike. Today in news we have...
Grande-sized black holes.
And even more former Google Lunar X Prize teams are moving forward with lunar missions.
All this followed by an interview with Jared Head at the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference, where he will be interviewing Martin, the executive director. Oh, and then comments from our last show. This is it. Tomorrow, orbit.11.21. Sorry.
Good morning. How's everything?
Cool. Yeah, welcome to tomorrow instead of welcome to the conversation.
Oh, okay. Welcome to tomorrow, and then followed by Jared doing an interview with Martin, the executive director. About does Martin have a last name, or are we just saying Martin?
I think I kept it first names for familiarity.
Okay, cool.
In a similar vein with Jade and Athena, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin, the executive director of the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference Astronomy Expo.
Good timing. We're just about to go live.
Then comments from our last show, and it's 11.20. Oh, sorry.
11.21.
.21. Okay, not 21.
Sorry, what?
Cool.
Martin Carey.
Martin Carey.
I think that.
Do you want it? We can keep it first name if you'd like, or just for
No,
formality.
Let's do Martin Carey.
Martin Carey. Are we for sure? Okay. Carey. You're a wizard, Carey. Okay.
You want one more, or are you good?
Do you want to do
Let's
one more?
do one more.
For safeties?
Yeah.
Okay.
For safeties.
Okay.
Can't hurt.
Doorknob.
Hello.
Hello.
Check.
Hello.
Check, check.
Chickadee check.
25, check.
Oh, please.
Infinity.
Jeez. Look at this one right here.
I'm not plugged in, so I can't tell, but the chat room is saying that Athena's not using the background and Jade sounds like she's splitting.
I sound like I'm splitting?
Hello, microphone. Is
Hello,
this okay?
hello?
Should I put my microphone up higher? Is this better?
I can do mine higher.
Testing.
Microphone.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Google.
Microphone closer to face.
Hello. Hi.
Woo.
That's what I said.
Hey kids, welcome to tomorrow.
I was thinking more of like Undertaker. Welcome to tomorrow, I am Jay.
Do the eyeball thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay,
Sorry,
I need
my microphone's too
mic
low.
checks, please.
Microphone, hello. How's it going?
Hold on, Jade, please.
Oh, sorry.
Hi. Hello. Testing. Testing. Does that sound better?
Good. Athena.
Hi, how's it going? Microphone, testing, galaxies, black holes. I see a box of the wood and Starbucks bag and smart water. Chords, I'm testing.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
Mike.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I am in a hotel room at ISTC, and it's already been really awesome. And today we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. And this is me
Cool,
being
thank you.
really excited.
Thank you. Carrie Ann.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I wasn't on, and I'm in the loud room, so that doesn't make any sense. Let me walk over to where I'm probably going to be. Also, I can't hear you because I'm not plugged in. So if I need to stop talking, I can stop talking. Cool, thanks.
Thanks all. Okay, again, one more time, run through. If it's good, I'm not going to stop you.
Okay.
Practice, but maybe for real.
I like it.
Hello and welcome to Tomorrow. I'm Jade, this is Athena, and we have Mike. Today in news we have...
Grande-sized black holes.
And even more former Google Lunar X Prize teams have announced their moving forward plans.
All of this and more, followed by an interview with Jared interviewing Martin Carey, who is the executive director of the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference Astronomy Expo. And then, of course, we get to comments from the last show. I'm Jade, and this is Tomorrow, Orbit 11.21.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
So before we get into news, it looks like we have a couple of Escape Velocity citizens we would like to go ahead and give a big thank you to. Of course, the Escape Velocity is people who contribute $10 an episode or $30 a month. Every bit helps, and we wouldn't be able to continue making these awesome shows if it weren't for you. And if you would like to become a citizen of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Now, before we head into news, we have a few cool launches that we're going to talk about. Isn't that correct, Mike?
That's right. We have quite a few that happened since last week's show. And last week we only had just a suborbital launch. So some of the ones that have happened since then have been pretty cool. The first one that we got to talk about is a Chinese launch, which was launching a relay satellite for their future lunar mission, the Chang'e 4 mission. So this launched on Sunday. Let's check it out. This is a launch of a Long March 4C rocket, which launched on Sunday, May 20th at 21:28 Coordinated Universal Time from the Jicheng Satellite Launch Center in southwestern China. The three-stage liquid rocket apparently launched the first piece of the Chang'e 4 mission, the relay satellite, which is called QCOW. And it is designed by the Chinese Academy of Space Technology. And QCOW is going to be well, first off, it's a communications satellite based off of their CAST 100 satellite platform. And the name QCOW is from Chinese folklore, which means magpie bridge. And the name for that was just barely chosen late last month by the Chinese National Space Administration. And the mission was launched a little bit earlier than planned. It was originally targeted for June 2018, and the cause of the reschedule remains unknown since Beijing's pretty tight-lipped about a lot of their launches. However, the communication equipment on QCOW gives the spacecraft 4 256 kilobit per second links in X-band between itself and the Chang'e 4 lander and eventually the Chang'e 4 rover. And it's going to provide a link in S-band at 2 megabits per second between the satellite and Earth. Now, in order to establish a communication link with the yet-to-be-launched lunar lander and rover, China is going to need QCOW because the lander and rover are headed to the far side of the moon, and anything on that side is going to absolutely need to have a relay satellite in order to transmit signals. Now, besides the establishing communications, you might have seen those microsatellites that were deploying out behind the spacecraft, and those are going to be taking some very low frequency band radio sky images while they're in their mission around the moon. And both of those missions have a kind of an interesting nickname, which is Longjiang 1 and Longjiang 2, which means Dragon River. So I'm assuming from some of the radio images that they're going to get from that, not only for a little bit on the surface to calibrate it, but then a little bit more for the sky survey too. So the first piece of this is in place now, although it hasn't been confirmed yet whether or not the satellite is on a lunar trajectory. But if everything goes well and everything goes well with the Long March 5 rocket, China will be launching the rest of the Chang'e 4 mission, the lander and rover, later on this year, hopefully in December. So this was the 15th launch for China overall this year.
Wow, good for them. Seems like they're making a whole lot of progress. So it's pretty exciting to see all these really epic updates. And so it looks like we have a mission to the ISS as well that recently went up, huh?
Yes, we do. And this one I actually got to see live in person, and it was quite amazing. Although the footage that I got for it still wasn't quite as good as the NASA footage. So I'll show you the footage that I collected for it another time. But in any case, we're talking about the orbital ATK Antares rocket, which was launching a Cygnus cargo freighter to the International Space Station. And that launched on Monday from Wallops Island. Let's check it out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So this launch occurred, as I said, on Monday, May 21st at 8:44 Coordinated Universal Time from Wallops Island, Virginia. And it was actually the 200th mission for the International Space Station since the first module was launched into orbit back in November of 1998. And the two-stage rocket initially was powered by 2 Russian-made RD-181 engines for 3.5 minutes before the first stage ran out of fuel and separated from the upper stage and payload. And the U.S.-built solid-fueled upper stage, a Castor 30XL, took over after separation, and the automated supply ship separated from the Antares upper stage around 9 minutes later into the flight. And then a little bit later, it unfolded 2 of its solar panels and commenced its 3-day pursuit of the space station, kicking off Orbital ATK's 9th resupply run to the International Space Station. Now, this Cygnus cargo spacecraft is named the SSJR Thompson after a former chief operating officer at Orbital Sciences who died last year. A lot of the previous Cygnus missions have been named after astronauts who had passed away. So a little bit breaking in the tradition, but they still feel very strongly about it. So I think that it's really cool that they're honoring him in that way. But in any case, the breakdown of the cargo on board this mission has about 1,191 kilograms of hardware, a little over 1,000 kilograms of science investigation equipment, around 800 kilograms of crew supplies, 132 kilograms of spacewalk equipment, 100 kilograms of computer resources, and even 13 kilograms of some Russian equipment. And then a few days later, on Thursday, Cygnus was able to rendezvous with and be captured to have its birthing operation at the space station. So there's quite a few other experiments that we want to talk about, one of which is a cold atom laboratory that is happening out of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But I feel like I'll let Jared explain that when it's actually installed on the ISS. That's right up his alley. I don't want to steal that there.
Well, that's very generous of you.
After a 3-day chase, though, Scott Tingle was able to capture the Cygnus and dock it shortly thereafter. And it's going to be staying at the space station for 2 months. And then after it is unberthed from the space station, there's actually a CubeSat deployer on Cygnus that's going to launch 6 CubeSats for varying experiments at that time. So very cool to see this successful mission, and it was really, really cool to see it in person.
Well, I'm certainly jealous. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I'm sure your footage is amazing. It might not be NASA, but it's yours, and it's special, and I'm sure it's great. So
that's right. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see it someday. And last but certainly not least, Falcon 9 launched Iridium 6 and Grace FO.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had a Falcon 9 launch this week too. That's right. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. No, this is a big deal. They launched on Tuesday, and both of those missions for both the Iridium and the Grace follow-on mission is really exciting. So, let's check out the footage of this, because this footage is actually really pretty too.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This rideshare mission, which was arranged between SpaceX, Iridium, and the German Research Center in charge of launching Earth satellites, took off at 1947 Coordinated Universal Time from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Air Force Base. And the 5 commercial communications satellites aboard the rocket are going to add to Iridium's growing next-generation voice and data relay network, bringing the company's upgraded fleet to 55 spacecraft launched since January of 2017. The other satellites launched on Tuesday are the follow-ups to the Gravity, Recovery, and Climate Experiment, or GRACE mission, which used 2 similar spacecraft to measure the tug of gravity around the Earth from 2002 to 2017. Now, the first stage booster was actually the same vehicle that launched for the first time on January 7th from Cape Canaveral with the mysterious Zuma payload. And Zuma was reportedly lost soon after it reached orbit. But after investigation, it was all blamed on Northrop Grumman from having a faulty payload separator, payload adapter there. In any case, since this was a previous version, not a Block 5 version, SpaceX did not attempt to land or recover the booster, but it did attempt to catch the payload fairings, which you just saw separate there with their boat, Mr. Steven. Although they did not succeed this time, they did come very close to refining the parachute recovery and the glide system for payload fairings, and that's what they hope to catch it on right there with Mr. Steven. In any case, though, the upper stage engine completed its first firing around 10 minutes after liftoff and released the 2 600-kilogram Grace follow-on spacecraft. Unfortunately, we did not get to see it. This is happening right now on the footage that you saw there, but we did not get to see it. But those were separated at around 490 kilometers and tilted 89 degrees to the equator. And meanwhile, the Falcon 9 sailed over Antarctica and did a quick little check-in. And they did a brief 8-second burn to raise its altitude to around 600 kilometers and also adjust its inclination a little bit more so that it would be closer to what's being used by the Iridium satellites. The Iridium spacecraft deployed one by one from the dispenser at the forward end of Falcon 9. And officials declared 1 hour. Geez, I don't know what happened just now. Sorry about that. But the Iridium spacecraft deployed one by one, and they declared the mission a success around 1 hour and 12 minutes after liftoff. And something that I did want to say about the Grace spacecraft is that the Grace follow-on missions are pretty unique. What they're going to be doing this time is that they're going to be measuring the weight of the water that's distributed around the Earth. So
cool.
that's pretty cool for that.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
It's crazy you could do that from space.
I know, right? It's like, what can't you do from space these days? I mean, there's obviously a laundry list, but that's very neat. And I have to say, I actually had a beautiful dream about Falcon 9 last night, and so I'm actually very smitten that there's a Falcon 9 launch that was in the news today, brought to you by Mike. So thank you for that. Yeah, it was a great dream. I was like,
you're welcome. Very cool.
I was like 3 feet away from it, so obviously, you know, it was definitely an unrealistic dream, but a lovely one nonetheless.
During launch? During
Yes.
takeoff?
Yeah, and it was cute. It was like this big, and I'm like, look, it's beautiful. Yeah, anyways, I got good dreams, man. Okay, so going from launches into news, Athena, I see here you want to talk about some grande black holes. Personally, I like mine Venti or Trenta, but please tell me about these grande black holes.
Yeah, so the reason I call them grande black holes is because, so for those of you that speak Spanish, we know that grande means large, but at Starbucks, grande is really they're medium-sized. And I'm talking about medium-sized black holes. They're also known as intermediate black holes. And up until recently, there was only 2 categories of black holes, known as stellar mass black holes and supermassive black holes. But this in-between size black hole can tell us a lot about galaxy and black hole evolution. In the early universe, there was a lot of dust and gas and rapid star formation. And for some of those stars with shorter lives and much bigger in size, then they would die by collapsing into themselves and they would form a black hole. And these are known as stellar mass black holes. And they're typically around just a few solar masses, meaning the mass of the black hole would be if you combined a handful of our suns together. So about 5 to about a few dozen of solar masses. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have supermassive black holes, which are millions to billions of solar masses in size. And they're thought to have formed in the early universe. And astronomers have measured that the greater the mass of the black hole, the larger the central bulge is, which, by the way, is this picture right here. You could see where the central bulge is. So through observations, it's likely that the supermassive black holes, this picture right here, you can see where the central bulge is. So through observations, it's likely that the supermassive black holes grew in size through galaxy mergers due to the gravitational interactions when 2 galaxies begin to merge. And if this is true, then scientists have a lead on how these intermediate black holes may have formed. So researchers analyzed and compared X-ray data of about 1 million galaxies collected by the Sloan Digital Sky Survey and the Chandra, the XMM Newton, and Swift orbital X-ray observatories, and detected 10 active galactic nuclei, ranging from 30,000 to 316,000 solar masses. So, if stellar mass black holes are around 5 to a few dozen solar masses, and supermassive black holes are millions to billions of solar masses, then these 10 detective active galactic nuclei may be the intermediate black holes that are found in the centers of small dwarf galaxies. By the way, active galactic nuclei is the name for the centers of galaxies, nuclei because it's a center, galactic because it's a center of a galaxy, and active because it's actively emitting light and gobbling up stars and anything that comes into its path, obviously past its event horizon, and black holes gobble them up as they do best. Now, this wasn't actually discovered until recently because the light coming from these regions are relatively faint. Now, they're super far away, and there's a lot of stars in these regions that can really throw off previous data. Now, scientists are going to be studying a lot more on these black holes to see if they may have evolved from stellar mass black holes into intermediate black holes, and then possibly into supermassive black holes. And then that can tell us quite a lot about the evolution of our universe. And also, if these black holes are set on a collision course for one another, and they happen to merge, gravitational waves will be produced, and scientists will be able to detect this, which is pretty awesome. Now, these studies are going to teach us a lot more about the evolution of galaxies and also, obviously, the evolution of our universe as well. So, yeah, I think it's really cool. I think anything about black holes is really mysterious and interesting.
Isn't it?
So, yeah, so I think it's awesome that intermediate black holes have only been recently studied within a few years, but now they really have like some strong, solid evidence showing, hey, this actually is real, and this is probably in the middle of dwarf galaxies out there.
Exactly, and that's so cool too, because I mean, something as elusive as black holes, we're now finding like all these like diverse intermediaries, like intermediate black holes, and your supermassive and your little ones, you know, and then even the primordial ones that they were talking about however long ago. So that's actually really, really cool. And hey, who doesn't like a few gravitational waves, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Someone gets pretty excited about that.
Absolutely. So it looks like we have some updates from the Google Lunar X Prize teams. You want to talk about that a little bit, Mike?
Yeah, some of the former teams. Okay, so some of the former teams, there's 4 of them, have announced some of their future plans and pretty much their intention to keep on moving forward, especially in light of NASA's new commercial needs to start sending cargo to the surface of the moon. So there was presentations at actually a different conference that neither of us are at right now, the Space Tech Expo on May 24th. 4 companies that were vying for the $20 million prize that Google Lunar X Prize was putting on say that they're really motivated by what they see in the growing interest with lunar exploration and commercialization. Those teams include Astrobotic, Part-Time Scientists, Team Indus, and Moon Express. We already knew that Moon Express was going to move forward with some stuff, but I'm excited by these other teams. The enthusiasm that's been bolstered by a lot of the shift in national space policy here in the United States, I think, has a lot to do with that. Now, NASA has since unveiled plans for their Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program, or CLPS, and the agency is going to be buying payload space on small commercial lunar landers for carrying scientific instruments and other experiments, such as the experiments that have been on the now canceled Lunar Resource Prospector, which I talked about recently. And while Astrobotic has about 12 customers for its first lunar lander mission in 2020, ranging from the Mexican Space Agency to the Arc Mission Foundation, which announced plans on May 15th to fly a copy of Wikipedia on the lander, NASA is not yet a customer for Astrobotic, but that could change soon. The German company, Part-Time Scientists, is hiring staff in preparation for its first lunar lander mission, which is scheduled to take place in late 2019. Part-Time Scientists have been working in partnership with a number of major companies outside the space industry, like Audi and Vodafone, and the company is relying heavily on technologies developed elsewhere for the lander. So it's really encouraging to see that they have a lot of support for that and that they're going to move forward. And their particular mission is scheduled to go to the Taurus Littrow region of the moon near the Apollo 17 landing site. And that mission is the first of several that Part-Time Scientists have planned, including one in cooperation with the European Space Agency later in the 2020s to test the ability to access and use water ice resources at the lunar poles. So Part-Time Scientists also hope to see their lander take part, of course, in the cargo delivery services for NASA or other agencies as this whole commercial shift is taking place. Now, India's Team Indus is working on a series of lunar lander missions as well as for sending payloads to the moon inexpensively. Team Indus is planning an annual series of lunar lander missions starting in mid-2019 and then one mission every year. And the company has completed a set of tests on the qualification module of the lander. And Rahul Narayan, the founder and chief executive of Team Indus, said that they were ready to develop flight hardware for the lander, which comes actually as a little bit as a surprise, since they had a PSLV that was almost reserved for them. I mean, it was essentially reserved, that was going to launch in December of last year. So it's kind of interesting that they're just now starting to develop the actual flight hardware. But at least their design is ready to move forward. And of course, Moon Express is also pressed ahead with their lunar lander missions and is planning their first mission in 2019. And they still have, when they got their contract in 2015 to do several launches on their Electron rocket, at the Space Tech Expo, they announced that they were not necessarily, they still have that launch contract in place with Electron, but they were open to using a different vehicle on the company's first mission. Since Moon Express has several landers that they have planned for varying missions, Electron would not be enough for some of the landers like their MX-9 lander that they have, which would be capable of doing lunar sample return missions like you see pictured here. And as NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program is now underway with a request for information that NASA said they received lots of very positive responses from, a lot of this hope for former Google Lunar X Prize teams is looking very bright, as well as from other companies like Blue Origin, who hope to provide landing capability and take care of all of the human precursor missions that would be needed before humans return to the moon. So I, for one, am very excited by this, and I hope that these teams can not necessarily merge, but collaborate as much as possible, even though they're separated geographically, at least the American teams. But who knows what will happen there? They probably see themselves as competitors at this point, which isn't a bad thing either. So
yeah, like motivate each other. Who's going to get to the moon first?
Exactly.
Again, second time. Yeah, but I wonder,
Yeah.
like, if everyone starts to get to the moon, like, what's going to then be like alliance? There has to be an alliance of some sort.
Oh, yeah,
you know, you would
absolutely.
think. But I love that so many people are planning missions to the moon right now. This is so exciting because it's like really, really being put into play. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, and there's been a big kind of push, especially in the past, ever since we've been to the moon. Like, there's always been this interest and kind of romanticism about going back. So it's great that we're actually finally making some real progress with that. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the moon.
Absolutely.
All right. So speaking of missions, it looks like Rocket Lab has an update to its latest mission. So what's that about, Athena?
Yes, Rocket Lab has announced their new launch window for the It's Business Time mission. It's going to be between June 23rd and July 6th at 0:30 to 4:30 Coordinated Universal Time. And it will be launching from Rocket Lab's Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. Now, the original launch window was from April 20th to May 3rd, but after motor control issues for the Electron launch vehicle during the wet dress rehearsal, it was pushed back. And now, as the issue is being resolved, 2 more customers were added onto the mission, Irvine 01 and Nabeo, N-A-B-E-O, that is. Irvine 01 is an educational payload from the Irvine CubeSat STEM program. So around 150 members from 6 different high schools in Irvine, California joined together in this program to develop the solar-powered CubeSat that will be launching on its Business Time mission. There will also be cameras on board the CubeSat to take photos of Venus and other celestial bodies to teach the students how to calculate distances to stars and for them to learn how to direct a satellite. That's like super cool. It's an amazing STEM program to inspire and teach students to pursue a career in the STEM field. And the second customer to be added onto the mission is Nabeo, which is a drag sail satellite demonstrator designed and built by the High Performance Space Structure Systems, GmbH. Nabeo drag sail is a cleanup system where its job will be to deorbit inactive small satellites. It'll do this with its ultra-thin membrane, which is going to deploy from the spacecraft when it reaches the end of its orbital lifespan. And it has reflective panels that will unfold and reach a length of about 2.5 square meters. And this will allow for it to experience a greater atmospheric drag, which will passively deorbit the unused satellites. This will allow for faster deorbiting and will reduce the amount of space junk in lower Earth orbit. Both of these payloads will be joining the other 2 original customers of the mission, which includes 2 Lemur 2 satellites from the Spire Global and GeoOptics Inc. satellite built by Tyvak Nano Satellite Systems. With the It's Business Time mission being able to add on these 2 additional customers, it truly goes to show the demand of the small satellite launches that's really happening today worldwide. And with Rocket Lab being capable of booking a launch for any small satellite customers in the matter of only a few weeks, according to CEO Peter Beck, it really shows the strength of the company and the role in which they play in the rocket industry. And actually, they're the only small orbital launch provider enabling frequent access to orbit. And Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand is the world's only private orbital launch facility. And they're licensed to launch every 72 hours. And they offer the widest range of orbital inclinations of any launch site in the world. So that's like really cool. I actually didn't know that about Rocket Lab. And I've always loved New Zealand, but now to find out about Launch Complex 1 having like the widest range of orbital inclinations, like of just launches in general, I think that's so cool. So yeah, that's what's going on with the It's Business Time mission. I just love the title of it too.
Oh, I know.
The name of its mission.
It's like really just getting out of the bed in the morning, like, let's launch a rocket and let's make it record break and let's do some cool stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
exactly.
yeah.
Plus, I love how, obviously there were some issues with it, and in the time that they were resolving those issues, they gained 2 more customers for their mission. And I'm just like, oh, it goes to show, things really do work in the way that they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Firm believer.
All is well in the realm of rocketry.
Yes.
So
Rockets.
always good to hear.
Rockets.
So that just about wraps up news for today. We are going to take a really quick break. Stay tuned because when we come back, we have an exciting interview that Jared Head will be doing with Martin Carey, the executive director of the RTMC Astronomy Expo. So go ahead and stay tuned, and we'll see you in just a second.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination, and nothing in her way
Hold, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mike, you are free to go if you need to get to the expo.
But yeah, I think that was okay considering the technical difficulties we've had.
Yeah, not bad. Good work.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and I will. I'll at least see Athena later, and yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Thanks.
Or there we go. Okay, cool. I was like, not again. Why am I all messed?
What was the issue with that mic? The mic cable? Benny?
He's not listening.
Thank you, Athena.
Bye. Have fun.
That'll be you. Yeah, you'll be on Commander.
Oh, you know what? Let me. There we go. Oh. Oil, gross. Sorry, I have a very oily face, and it shows on camera. It's pretty gross. All right.
You ready?
Yes.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay.
Waited this long?
Yeah.
Jared's still on the line. Why don't you just toss for real?
Yeah.
We'll wait for Jared to actually get on the line, and then you can just throw it to Jared, and then you're done until the third segment. Well, can she practice? Oh yeah, you can practice.
It's just the escape velocity, right? And orbital citizens.
Escape
Before we
velocity.
get into our main topic.
And then thank you to our escape velocity patrons as well as our orbital citizens. Citizens. These people are the lifeblood of the show. They help make it go.
Yeah.
If you want to figure out how you can help become the blood of the show,
Patreon. If you would like to be the body and blood of this show.
Patreon.com/TMRO. Jared is over at wherever the hell he is.
What? The Riverside Telescope Makers Conference. Right? Astronomy EXO.
Yeah. Well, then you say, now we're going to throw it live over to Jared at the Riverside Maker blah 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 conference, and that's all you need to do. You feel free to practice it as we wait for
Jared, who is
here imminently
at the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference Astronomy Expo. Now we're going to throw it over to Jared. Is that the... Bye.
I have taken over the newsroom. This is my room now. I will bring you all of the space news.
He is the space news.
I have none of the power, though. I can be like, all me, and then Dutta can be like, no.
Let's be honest, I barely have power at this moment.
For those of you just joining us, there's normally a giant control surface that sits right there. In fact, hang on.
Oh, ooh, this is exciting. Here we go. Don't hurt yourself.
So this is what we use. This is what we use to technical direct the show. One of these. And you'll notice that it's in my hands, not over there.
Instead of in mine.
It decided not to power on this morning because I don't know why. Because I think I must have tempted the tech gods. So yeah, that did not. So Dutta has been directing the entire show on a laptop. There is nothing worse than trying to technical direct live television via a laptop. Truly, nothing worse. And so I feel for him. I will be ordering some parts like as soon as this show is done because I would actually, what you don't know is normally Dutta also does all the lower third graphics and whatnot. I've actually been controlling those in the room next door because there's just no way you can bounce between all the screens necessary to like change the graphics and then change the thing all within a split-second time. Whereas on the control surface, you can just be like, boop, and it all happens. You have to say boop, by the way, right? You say boop. You have to go boop, or it doesn't work. So, fun.
Mine's more of a 1K.
Hey, I just realized that are things getting pushed to the chat room? Question mark. Oh, we just haven't pushed anything to air.
Yeah.
No. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a good push. All right. You got to bring it. So I was looking at my preview screen and I realized that the last thing we pushed to air was from pre-show. So then I asked him to he pushed something and that's what he decided to push. Dutta is awesome. Also, a huge thank you to Colton as we're waiting here for still haven't figured out. Oh yeah, guest. There we go. Huge thank you to Colton. He's been doing some behind-the-scenes, I'll call it foundation work on the chat room that you use on TMRO.tv. And it's not super visible from from a user perspective. This isn't work that you are going to see yourself, but it's stuff that again it's foundation. So like you'll be able to build on top of that and make it actually quite a bit better. You're starting to Dutta the Great. That's not going to go to your head at all.
I need a bit of a surge before my 5-week hiatus.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be gone forever.
Oh,
when does that start?
God.
June 22nd.
We're gonna be sans Dutta, so I better fix that board because I don't think I can direct in software. I'll just be angry the whole time. Really? Dutta the okay-ish. Dutta,
Ooh.
I mean, it works.
Fighting words. Here we go.
Thanks. That's a good one. That's a good one. But that one's duty.
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 Duty, they're more indispensable than Ben.
Yep, that's what
I don't know why that was Italian, but.
Well, I mean, it's probably the E.
Italian-ish.
Esque.
Oh, here we go. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's
How's Jared?
taken, but
Still working on Wi-Fi's?
that's
We're waiting on it. So for the reason we're stalling, by the way, everyone, is
Is kaput. It's not happy with anything. Switching over to the MacBook Pro.
there you go. There was a debate as to whether he'd use the Mac or the Windows laptop. Oh, surprise, surprise, ended up on a Mac. Just saying. Although we use them all, right? So there's a Windows box right there that's running the show. There's a Macintosh, right? It's hard to do. Right there, that's running the show. Here's a Macintosh that's dead and that doesn't do anything, which is why, by the way, why it sits here and because it's funny. Maybe give. This is slightly annoying. So the new Zoom stuff, when it's in a thing, it always shows you the return video. Huh. Sir Game-A-Lot is educating me on things. It's duty means go in Romanian.
Romanium?
That's what it says, Romanian.
Oh, Romanian. Sorry, I thought you said Romanium, which sounds like a new element, so that's kind of cool.
I don't have ears in, so I can only I'll have to go put ears in. Hang on.
Talking all this smack. Don't even know.
You might want to mute me. I'm walking by a speaker.
Gosh, I really wish I knew some good jokes. I only know bad ones. Oh, I got the spinning wheel of death. Oh no, I was on dad jokes earlier today. I should remember. Gosh darn it. I have one. Do you guys want to know what my grandma said before she kicked the bucket? How far you think I can kick this bucket? Thank you. Now the world's a better place. Oh, I broke my computer. Let's see. I got more.
There's a Jared.
Ooh, yay. Only my computer froze.
Come in, Jared.
How do you control alt delete on a Mac again?
94%, so showing hardware.
How long?
Yeah, there's like a.
We shouldn't be too long, like till maybe 1:30 max. I don't think they're gonna be.
I think I might have fixed it. Hold on.
I'm just trying to get my headphones to work because they're not connecting.
I'm just going.
To answer your question, Command Option Escape is the same thing.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So I'll go grab a cord just in case.
Okay.
Hey, Jared.
Thank you.
Oh, I am unmuted. Hey, Jared.
You want to just type
I'm MS1.
It's not. They've been pushing and it's not coming across.
Hey, Jared.
So,
Hey, Jared.
so that's fine. We'll just
Jared.
get rid of that.
The actual chat is working.
Awkward moments.
We're gonna definitely need to close that door.
Music to my ears.
Yes, actually, if you can, that would be great.
Hi, Jared.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
You
Okay,
are
awesome.
you are in an underwater submarine.
Am I?
You didn't used to be.
Oh well, I don't like being in a submarine. So
What audio are you using? Like what microphone? Can you hear me? You can hear me, yeah.
well, right now I have my Bluetooth headphones on, so maybe it's running through that instead.
Yeah, you're on a Macintosh or a PC?
Mac.
Go to System Preferences. Although Zoom might override that, I just realized.
We'll find out in a little bit.
Yeah, System Preferences, then Sound, then Input. Real-time text.
Colonel Mike.
There you go.
And now, does that sound a lot better?
It sounds a lot better.
Okay, good. So that's what we want.
Awesome. All right, so the plan is to basically just rotate the laptop to whoever's, is that the...
Yeah, so we're kind of hanging out here right now, and we've got at least 2 people lined up, so we're gonna work with that, and they're gonna sit next to me right here. And we're gonna be our trying though. If you guys want to put it right there, if you can.
We might have to temporarily unplug it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. Okay. Yeah, stand by, guys. We're having like a fun time up here.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right.
And Jared, just so you know, we're ready when you are. So whenever you're ready to go.
Okay, we're waiting for a we're putting a telescope behind us. So but it's very big, you'll see. So they're very careful. I gotta get out of the way. So
oh my god. It's huge. It's huge.
Rotate it the other way. So
Jeez.
Looks like a cannon. That's like two.
It's the absolute unit.
A little excessive.
That's like 2 units of ray.
The astronomical.
Yeah, the astronomical unit.
You sure it's not a smokestack?
You don't want me to log into the system.
What's up?
You don't want me to log in.
No, I'm in it on here, so and that's how we'll how we'll do it. So
So we don't need this anymore.
nope, we're gonna get rid of that. So
Look at the frames. Yeah, watching the frames. I also don't want this thing just bonk people on the head.
Well, good thing we have eyes, dude.
But close.
all right. I think we're actually good.
Unless you want to pull the desk out.
No, I think this will be fine.
Okay.
We'll just talk, hey, we got a telescope behind us here. It's a little close. but it's okay.
So, Jared, I'm just curious. Are you broadcasting? Where are you broadcasting from?
Like location-wise?
No, I meant like a room.
The room? Yeah, we're in a really big empty room.
Okay.
In here. So, could we? I was gonna say, could we grab our two people we're gonna interview, Martin and Travis, and have them come in, and then we can close that door to try to isolate the audio from that. So, is there something up that you guys are noticing?
Nope.
Or?
No, I was just curious. Looked like there was a fireplace behind you, and I was like, "Are we in like a lodge? What's going?"
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to my wonderful cabin I have up here. It's full of
with your
delicious
Perrier.
wines, and wonderful cheeses. We'll go out and take a look at the stars a little bit later. So.
That was the most awkward thing I think we've ever aired on this show.
The most awkward, really?
Good.
That's the most awkward? Challenge accepted, young man.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, just making sure the host channel is still working for me. So, all right, cool. This is going to be fun because I only have one laptop because the Surface was like, I'm not going to work. So no matter what we did to it. So, okay, we closed the door. How's that for background audio?
About the same. It's all right.
Is it? Oh, okay, because there's a lecture happening in like the room next to us, and it's loud. So we were wondering if you could hear it.
I get no bleed, but it is echoey.
Yeah, you're definitely coming to us from a big, empty, dirty church.
Big dirty church with the world's largest microscope right behind me
World's
here.
biggest microscope. Where'd you get your jacket?
Yeah.
Cool
So I
guy.
think we're just waiting for Martin and Travis, right? Do we know where Martin and Travis are?
I don't know what they look like, so.
Oh, okay, that helps.
We might want to delay his audio a bit. I know that it's floating, but it seems to be consistently off by the same amount. Hey, Jared, what'd you have for
Go
breakfast?
ahead and delay me as much as you need to. What I have for breakfast, I had bacon, which we had the really thick sugar maple bacon this morning. We put it on a baking sheet in the oven, and we cooked it that way. And then we had we poured the bacon grease off of the pan when we were done cooking into a skillet and made some eggs in that, and it was delicious this morning. Put some nice salsa on it as well, and it was yeah. And I gotta say, the Starbucks double shot espresso that I had with that as well is like really working amazingly right now.
Up to like 1,000.
Are we good?
Nope, not yet. Sorry. What'd you have for dinner last night?
What's up?
What'd you have for dinner last night?
For dinner last night, I had
more.
What did I have for dinner last night? We had a lot of Dr. Pepper and Malibu rum. I could tell you that.
That's all right.
So that's one thing. A lot of chips. We had some chips with that as well. So yeah, it was pretty good. We came out and we were taking a look at all the telescopes last night, and it was not a particularly good night because the moon was so bright and the air was very unstable last night as well. So, so a lot of people by midnight were wrapping it up. It was like not ideal. So, so we'll see what happens tonight because the moon's going to be even brighter, and then Sunday it's going to be even brighter. So that'll be fun. So we'll figure that one out and see what's up with that. So, yeah, hopefully that's good. So,
yeah, your bandwidth sucks.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. We're getting clean audio. Your video's stuttering. The audio video is drifting in and out. It'll be fine for the interview because Zoom is so much better than Skype. But yeah, we're definitely getting syncs and drops and whatnot. But you're easy to understand, which is just a wild improvement over Skype. So I'll take it.
Okay, that's good. All right, cool. Yeah, we're in the mountains. So.
Yeah, I understand. Although, interestingly enough, your sync just kind of slid into place a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you're still maxed at 500?
Jeez, 100?
No, 500.
500.
We are delaying your audio by
500 milliseconds.
We're delaying your audio by half a second in order to try to compensate for the drift we're seeing. And that's as high as we can make it. We actually need to delay it by about 1.5 seconds. At times, but your audio, that's part of our gripe with Zoom, is that your audio, Zoom takes priority on audio, which is exactly what we want, so that's a good thing, but they seem to decouple it from the video, which is probably how they're able to make priority on audio. Go ahead.
We're not going to use that, actually. So we ended up getting everything working on one right here. So, yeah. Thank you, though. We appreciate
all those miles.
The offer. We're sorry.
On my little cord,
Were you trying to add other large microscopes?
What's up?
Were you trying to add other large microscopes?
No, our wonderful hosts up here at RTMC have been grabbing their own like laptops and tablets and trying to help us out as much as possible. They've been fantastic up here. So
Internet, you're basically getting your After Dark in the middle of the show. So how fun is that?
Yeah, how neat is that? That's pretty neat.
How's it been going other than not so awesome weather? How's it been going?
Take my toys out.
Oh, up here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's been pretty great. I mean, it's beautiful up here. We're just above 7,000 feet up in the Big Bear area, and we're east of Big Bear, so we're like actually in, I think, the San Bernardino National Forest, like right in the middle of it, and it is just gorgeous out here. It's beautiful. It's very comfortable outside. You don't have to wear a heavy jacket. And at night, it's not like too cold where you can't you're going to freeze your hands off or something. It's really been like really great. So, and it's been so much fun up here. So
all you need is better internet.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad that I've got the headphone in. So that's for sure. So instead of broadcasting that to the whole room. So yeah, I'm sure they would like that. So. We're good for Martin and Travis if they want to stop by.
Martin and let him start.
Okay, sure thing.
Oh, Jared, one last thing. We're trying something a little bit new today. So Jade is going to do the introduction with the slates and be like, "Hey, welcome back. Thank you to all of our patrons. Blah 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 blah." She's going to go through all the Patreon stuff, and then she's going to go. And now Jared Head is at the blah blah blah, and toss it to you, and you can just run with it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw you guys were working on that, and that sounds like today. It sounds like this week's going to be a good week to try that out. So.
Yeah, it feels like a good thing. I think we're gonna, just for anyone watching, I think we're gonna try this for a few weeks, just even in the shows in general, just to see how we like it. Kind of making the Capcom role always in charge of bringing us in and out of all of the segments, all three of them, which they haven't traditionally done. I think it's actually going to make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to try it out this week. It actually seems to make a lot of sense, and then we'll see how it goes and tweak as necessary. So
yeah,
there you go. It's a
awesome.
It's a carry-on idea. So we're still just waiting for guests.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the people I'm going to interview to show up. So
we could have.
They were here.
Do you want to awkwardly start without them and make it as awkward as possible?
Sure.
Yeah.
I could sit here.
Just be like, we could toss to you and be like, "We're not ready yet," and then you could just awkwardly sit there in silence, like sipping a tea or something and reading a book.
And breathe really hard, but breathe audibly and make some weird mouth noises. I knew I could count on you.
I was going to say, since we were talking about Steve Roll earlier with the Big Dirty Church, there is one of the sketches where they cut to him and he's like, "No, I'm not ready, go back." And they keep cutting back and forth between the news team and him. So we could do that if you wanted to. We could recreate it. So.
I feel like that's one of the last things we want to emulate on this particular show. Maybe an After Dark, but not show proper.
Hey, can I have you guys push something to my host channel? Because my regular chat channel, it works for about a minute and then it freezes. So
yeah, what?
So let me know if you can.
We need you.
There's lots of things already pushed to the host channel, so you should be able to see that.
Well, I want to see if there's new stuff because my actual thing is not
new stuff.
updating.
There's new stuff all the time.
He wants to see if it's still updating. Just push anything blue.
Yeah. There's been like 3 things in the last 5 seconds.
Okay, I'm not getting anything through the chat here, so.
All right.
So it'll work for about a minute and then it'll cut out. So.
Yeah, you're probably just disconnecting from the chat. You're on beta chat, yes?
Yes.
What about the original chat? Does the original chat work any better?
I don't know. I haven't used that in months. So
tech support live.
I don't even remember how to do that.
It's just chat.tmro.tv. That's all. Get rid of all the other stuff.
Okay, let's log in.
So here's Martin.
Okay.
How long do you think you can do with Martin? Do you want to get Travis?
We'll probably do about 20 minutes. I think that would be good, and then we can grab Travis, or if Travis wants to come in and kind of watch, he's welcome to do that too. So, yeah, if he wants to. So we're coordinating. So, okay. I'm seeing if the chat room's working any better at the moment. So,
in a worst case scenario, we might be able to. Does Discord work for you?
Oh yeah. Okay. The chat is working. And then you guys start pushing things, and let me see if that comes up here.
I don't think it will in the regular chat room.
Okay.
So, is Discord working?
Chat's out.
Oh, that might be us globally. Stand by.
I'm sure I called and restarted.
Hey, Jared, try heading over to. Let me know when it's back up. Hang on. Hold. RTLS.
Okay. So we're trying to get our chat up and running, so that way people
All
watching.
right, Jared,
live
go ahead.
can actually,
Jared, go ahead and go back. Go ahead and go back to beta chat.
Okay, heading back to beta.
Yep.
Okay.
So you actually got done. Go as long as you want.
Okay.
Any better? You just pushed something.
Okay, I saw one pushed.
There's motion cars.
Yay! Everything's getting pushed.
Cool.
All right.
Huzzah!
We're
Hey,
good.
hey, Jared, Red push something for me. Anything you want. Boom!
There you go.
Perfect, thank you. That, by the way, I just want
All
to point out is magic. You're in the middle of the mountains and pushing content to our screens here in Anaheim.
Yes, I am. So
Yeah.
I'm literally like 100 miles away from you guys, and people are chatting from somewhere in the world, and we're just sending it out there. So there you go. So, yeah, there you go. Great, Ben. Great. All right. All right, Martin, if you want to come on over.
That happened
All right.
in real time.
So,
You're
yeah,
welcome,
okay.
Internet.
So
with no switch.
All right, so
all right.
So this view right here is our well, it is out to the world. So okay, so that's what we've got today. We're just gonna just have a conversation, talking about amateur astronomy, and then this is our chat room here, and we'll be getting questions from people watching live in real time. And then we'll actually push them to air, and we'll answer their questions if they have any. So, love it. Yeah, all good.
All right, Jared, you ready?
Okay. All right. Sounds like we're good up here, guys.
Great. Let's start in black, pegging over, and go with the segment. Thanks, all.
Are we ready? Okay. Hello and welcome back. I'm Jade.
Hold. Let me fade black and then come back on you. Sorry. That was Benny.
Hello and And welcome back. I'm Jade, and before we get into our main topic, we want to give a huge shout out to our escape velocity citizens as well as our orbital citizens. These people contribute $5 an episode or $15 a month. Every bit helps, and we wouldn't be able to continue making these amazing shows if it weren't for you. So if you would like to become a citizen of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. We are now going to throw it over to Jared, who is live at the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference Astronomy Expo, and he's currently hanging out with Executive Director Martin Carey. How you doing over there, Jared?
Oh, we are doing fantastic up here in the beautiful mountain air that we have up in Camp Oaks, which is east of Big Bear, if you can imagine, just in the middle of the mountain. So we are really excited today to be bringing you a live remote from the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference. And I have Martin Carey right here, our Executive Director of RTMC. Martin, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So just to sort of talk a little bit about RTMC, what is RTMC?
RTMC is several things. It started as a group of telescope makers who loved astronomy. And this was back in the 1960s when if you wanted a good telescope, you basically had to build your own, or perhaps you could buy one from Japan for a lot of money. So in the United States, the telescope making movement actually began back in the 1920s, back east. So RTMC was an event intended to interest people in astronomy, enjoying the sky for themselves, and not just professionals. It's for ordinary people to have their own equipment, to enjoy the sky, to share it with others, and if they made something, to show it and share it.
Excellent. Now, up here at RTMC, what are some of the things that actually happen up here at RTMC?
Well, we have several things that attract our guests. We have, first of all, some outstanding speakers. We have speakers from NASA and JPL. We have working scientists from universities. We have interested amateurs who are actually doing some very significant work themselves, making discoveries, making measurements, publishing papers. Then amateurs who make things, amateurs who do things. We have people who have discovered comets. We have people who have built, we have up today a 36-inch telescope up on the upper field. This telescope was made in someone's shop. It's got a 36-inch mirror. It was made by the people just from kind of a challenge and a whim. Can we do this? Let's do it. This is typical of RTMC. It's amateurs. Of course, the gentleman, Mr. Spooner, who made this telescope with his partners, is a very experienced optician. But a lot of the people who build these things for RTMC are just regular folk who get interested. Okay. But to answer your question about what we offer, it's speakers, it's science, it's amateurs showing what they've made, it's vendors selling astro goodies, and of course it's fresh air under the sky at night. We can actually see the stars up here when the moon is not full, nearly full like it is these nights. Many years you come up here and you can see the Milky Way. You can look at galaxies and meet under the stars.
Yeah, and it's really about sharing that experience as an amateur astronomer up here.
It is.
So what's what is the minutia of an experience as an amateur astronomer? Because we always hear about like professional astronomers and they're doing the research and there's these big scientists that are happening out there. But for amateur astronomers, what do amateur astronomers do?
We look at the sky just for our pleasure. Mm-hmm. And we enjoy the sky in many different ways. Really, anybody can be an amateur. There were some scientists working at the Keck Telescope in Hawaii, and one night they had a delay and some kind of a problem working with their equipment. They just decided to step outside, and they looked at this amazing sky overhead in Milky Way and just started talking about it and enjoying it as people. Mm-hmm. That's amateur astronomy. Mm-hmm. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you can enjoy the sky as a person. That's what it is. You don't have to even own a telescope. You don't have to have any special knowledge. But you start somewhere. You start by looking up. and enjoying what you see.
Yeah, and eyes aren't necessarily the only thing that you need in order to get into amateur astronomy. There's a multitude of things that you can do with it, right?
That's correct.
Like you can get binoculars.
Yes.
So, and is that a pretty good way to get started in amateur astronomy?
Excellent way to get started. I tell people, even I have a little 8x20 binocular.
That's itty bitty.
It's tiny. It's about that long. And I can point it at the Pleiades, this beautiful cluster that you see in the winter sky. And I can see a lot more stars with my little monocular than my eye can.
Mm-hmm.
That's amateur astronomy.
Yeah.
And of course, I have bigger telescopes, but you don't need fancy equipment.
No.
Even just your eye, like the ancient people did, looking up and talking about the stars and telling stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's astronomy too.
Yeah, and it's almost like a continuation of what the ancient peoples were doing. We're bringing the skies to folks and really sharing that with them, and doing things like that. So.
Exactly. You're reading the Greek legends. You see in the Bible David talking about the stars. You see people from China and Babylon taking measurements and writing them down. We're part of that tradition. We love that.
Yeah, fantastic. So we do have a really cool question from Hannes Vorweep from our Twitch chat room, which is asking that if this is considered a part of the maker movement. And also sort of a second part of that question, what are some of the most interesting telescopes people have made? So do you guys sort of consider yourselves a part of the maker movement that's sort of swelled in the past decade?
Well, you're asking me, and I certainly do personally.
Yeah.
And I've had people come say, you got to go to these maker conferences. They do wonderfully, and they do.
Yeah.
I love the maker movement. I think it's significant. It's a significant antidote to a lot of what people complain about in our technological society. People aren't doing things for themselves as much. Even just modifying a piece of equipment that you have to make it work better for you and personalizing it. Like I gave you the example earlier of Mike Spooner and his team with that 36-inch scope.
Yeah.
Or the spectroheliostat on the upper field. It's, about 12 feet long, and it can image the sun. These are people who make things. They're amateurs. They make in their garages, in the front rooms of their apartments. You can grind a mirror in your sink. If you have to. You're crazy, but of course,
you have to unclog that sink a little bit.
You probably would. A lot of people question our sanity. Nothing new.
So what are some of the interesting things, the interesting projects that people bring up here at RTMC?
People have made all kinds of odd devices to look through at the sky. There's a young lady, Teresa Cook, a few years ago. She made a 3D printed telescope and won a merit award for that. It worked very well, by the way. You can set it up on a table and view the sky with it beautifully. And like I mentioned, the spectrohelioscope, this guy's been working on it for 11 years in his own machine shop.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do actual scientific work looking at the sun. People have made telescopes out of bottles and tin cans. I don't know. The imagination is the limit, really.
Yeah, and I know that one of my favorite telescopes I've ever seen up here is that somebody had literally 10-inch Dobsonians, like the type of telescope that we have behind us, but there were two of them, and they were looking behind you.
Yes.
So you would look down into the telescope and look up, and you would get an incredible amount of light gathering, and you would also get like this super cool 3D effect because it was both of your eyes at the same time, and that's one of the coolest telescopes I've looked at up here, and it's really, really cool. So to talk, go back to our chat room real quick. Michael Farrell from YouTube is asking, do they get to name any new space body that they discover? And I think you could talk about that a little bit because there's a plaque out there near the telescope field that talks about something related to that.
We have a gentleman named Don Mockholtz who was here at an RTMC event years ago. And I think it was through his big binoculars he brought. He's a comet hunter, and he's very good at it. And he has discovered comets himself. He discovered a comet right here at RTMC, and he's here this weekend talking about it.
Excellent. Yeah, and this weekend you're talking a lot about comets because you have a certain special guest up here this weekend.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
David Levy, if you haven't heard of him, you should know about him. David Levy is one of the best known amateurs in the world. The man has done wonderful work popularizing astronomy, but he's done good science himself. He's discovered comets. He's an amazing observer, a really nice guy to talk to. He's published books, David Levy, Levy. He's speaking tonight as our keynote speaker. He also has a doctorate. This is very interesting to me. In the literature, I think it's a medieval literature on astronomy, and he is an expert on this. So he's a man of letters, as well as being an astronomer. So this guy can really tell you some interesting things with a whole historical, cultural perspective. But he's talking tonight, and he's going to tell about his experiences and work as an amateur/professional astronomer.
And to go to our main chat room, Rebel Ace Friesland in it is asking, you always see a lot of Dobsonian scopes self-built, but they're not the best way to track and have precision. But you actually can put tracking motors on them.
You can.
So does that not detract too much for the usage of a Dobsonian? And I personally would say no. It does not. And by the way, this telescope behind us is a Dobsonian. They're basically mirrors in a tube on a mount, and then you basically manually move it around.
Yes.
So, and how do you feel like Dobsonians are sort of not the best way to go about it, or how do you feel about it? Since there's always a lot of Dobs up here.
I'm very much a Dob man, but I'm not just a Dob man. I have refractors, I have Maxitovs, I have, I think they are very good and very useful. When John Dobson, and of course it was all his friends and many other people that were building these things back in the 70s and 80s, they make astronomy much more accessible. It makes it that quick and go. And I've had members of our club, my old friend Bob, who's passed on now, but he was a purist, and he said, if it isn't somehow tracking and following the movements of the cosmos, it's just not legitimate. And he felt very passionate about that. But he wanted to write a book called 101 Dead Uses for a Dead Dob. Perfect. Hey, I'll write the book,
Yeah,
But
as well.
I love Dobs because they make astronomy accessible. I talked to a professional astronomer up here one year who was here at RTMC. And he says, I work at a professional observatory during research, but I like to use my Dob because everything gets out of the way when I'm looking at the sky, and I don't have to think about the instrument very much at all.
Yep.
And he liked that.
It truly becomes you and the instrument and the universe.
Exactly.
And that's an incredible connection, especially to feel that when you're actually working with your telescope. And Henny's Warwork from our Twitch channel is asking, does your group also contain astrophotographers? And I guess we should just say yes, because I do astrophotography. So yeah, there's a lot. In fact, there were people last night doing astrophotography of the moon, because the moon is nearly full this weekend, so it's very difficult to do deep sky stuff without the moon. But there were also a couple people taking images of planets. So, and you guys actually have an entire astrophotography competition up here too.
We do. This year, I was just talking to Charles, who's running the astrophotography competition. He was showing me that the entries this year were particularly good, especially because of the eclipse that we had in August.
Yeah.
So it's impressive. There's more and more people who know how to take good astrophotos. The quality of the hobby is rising.
Yeah, it's getting really good, especially as technology helps move things forward too. I know it's almost at the point where you can run things in real time on your laptop and actually work with it. We actually saw a gentleman out there last night who had a huge telescope that he made himself, and he's got all those Arduino and Raspberry Pis to run his imaging and movement system on it.
He's a real techie, yeah.
So it's not just necessarily something for, sort of like stuffy mathematicians nowadays. There's actually a lot of technology involved in it, like off the shelf, pick it up as you go.
Exactly. And they're making it easier. I mean, you can take a decent picture of the moon with your cell phone with a very inexpensive telescope. Yeah. And we were doing it last night and showing people how to do it on the field.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have anything fancy.
Yeah.
But if you do, of course, you can take magnificent photos.
Yeah. So with these astronomy conferences, what really is the benefit of having a conference like RTMC?
I think the biggest benefit is bringing people together of like mind and like passion and interest, sharing ideas, validating each other's craziness. I think is, you might say, I'm a psychologist, so I can say that. You know, it's a wonderful kind of madness that overtakes us under the sky. We get together, we can share ideas, equipments, passions, favorite places to observe, experiences, making things, and encouraging each other in new projects.
And for folks who are interested in sort of getting into amateur astronomy, what would you suggest to them? What would be some of your advice, especially with all of these choices in technology nowadays that we have coming out? Well, sort of what would you say to folks that are interested in becoming an amateur astronomer?
Best thing to do, I advise people, is join up with an astronomy club and be with other people who share your interests and who can mentor you, train you, show you things. Get out under the sky. There's a lot of wonderful things on the computer, and we encourage that. Find the great websites, Cloudy Nights forums and things like that. There's a lot of good resources. But there's nothing to replace getting out under the sky, and especially with other people who share your passion for it.
Yeah, it's fantastic to do that. Sort of to go back to our chat room from Twitch, Hannes Vorwerp has another really great question, which is, do amateurs ever work in coordination with the astronomers, like looking to see if anyone observed a phenomenon that they do not have enough data on? So are amateurs sort of at the level where they can work with the professional astronomers now?
There are some who definitely are. They're working in conjunction with amateurs and professionals together. There are organizations that support that. I know the Riverside Club has a number of their members that do actual research. For instance, occultations of stars, measuring star light levels to look at planets. Excuse me. Just as an example, there's a lot of things that amateurs can do. For instance, I just talked to a gentleman from the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers, and they work with amateurs too and professionals to take regular, systematic observations of the planets, Jupiter, Mars, and other planets, because there's not professional observatories or spacecraft always looking at those planets to see everything that happens on them. Sometimes amateurs can see things that happen that no one else will see, and that can be coordinated with professionals.
Yeah, and I know at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, they actually are asking amateurs to take images of Jupiter when Juno goes past during its close passes, so that way they can have very wide, full disk images of Jupiter for context for those Juno cam photos. And I know a couple of people that have actually, participated in that program. So us amateurs, we're at a level now where even the professionals, even people, like high-end planetary science professionals are starting to recognize them. I think that's ability to do that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So up here at RTMC, with everything that we've got around it, what is sort of the best thing about RTMC up here?
The best thing about RTMC is being able to meet under the sky with these elements that we bring to it: the speakers, the actual sky, and people. I know it's important to amateurs who love the goodies. They like the vendors, and being able to get together and compare ideas, to observe together, to look at equipment. I think you put those elements together and you create what has made RTMC Expo an attraction.
And if people are like super interested in RTMC, what's a great way to approach that?
Go on our website and RTMC, and you will see that we have tried to make the website more inviting, a little less nerdy and obscure, and you'll see that you can see the kinds of things that we've done, the kinds of things that our camp does, the activities. We're already talking about 2019, and we're looking at, instead of Memorial Day weekend, we're looking at September of 2019. Stay tuned. Go to the website, and you'll be able to keep track of our activities.
And just some more interesting questions from our chat room here, which is asking Rebel Ace Friesland, asking, do you educate science and technology to the general public, and in what way do you do that? So are you guys, public's allowed to come to RTMC, right?
Oh, we want the public, and you know, we are the public. It's you know, it's not like we're some ivory tower far off organization. It's separate. The people that come to RTMC, they're beginners. They're middle level people. There's all the way up to professional, and we promote the science of astronomy. There's lectures going over here right behind us in the wall all day long of professional and amateur astronomers talking about their craft, their interest, their science, their area of research. We have JPL NASA Mark Raymond talking to us Sunday night about the Dawn project.
Ooh, excellent.
Spacecraft that's flying in close to these asteroids. That's exciting. This guy really knows his stuff. Come on up. Talk about promoting and outreaching with science. We've got it, and we do it.
Excellent. A couple more questions from our chat room. We're going to kind of combine two people asking the same question, which is Stratty asking any amateur non-optical telescopes being built, and also Green Gym 2 asking, is it all optical telescopes, or do some build radio telescopes too?
They certainly do build radio telescopes. It's something we see here at RTMC occasionally. We have some very knowledgeable people who've worked in all sorts of wavelengths. It's interesting. I'm hoping, and I'm glad you asked the question, makes me think, to put out the invitation. Hey, you guys out there that are setting up your personal radio observatories for your backyard, bring it on up, you know?
Yeah.
Some of them are portable, and they actually do research with them.
Oh, that is so cool that they're able to do that.
Hope somebody's listening. You know?
Yeah.
Get the word out, because I know they're there.
Yeah. Also going to Kay McCoy in our chat room, which is asking any nationwide or international organizations for people to look to for local stuff, because we do have an audience that's not only just in the United States, but also around the world as well. So any organizations you can think of right off of the top of your head? So for me, I think Night Sky Network is one of those.
That would be my first.
Able to do that. So,
absolutely. Night Sky Network, I would go to first.
Yeah. And they are a fantastic group of people if you're super interested in that kind of amateur astronomy with that going then. So very, very cool. Well, Martin, thanks for coming on to talk with us. And we've got one more person to talk to, I believe. Travis, come on up. We're going to talk to you a little bit sort of just about some cool stories and stuff. So, and in the meantime, I'll go ahead and answer this question from Rebel Ace Friesland, which is asking, at what latitude are you? Aren't nights too short now? Yeah, I think we're at 34 north, and it is summertime, so our nights are a little short here. So, but you know, it's what we contend with as we are astronomers. So, Travis, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, good to
Great
be here.
to have you here. And our tomorrow viewers are definitely interested to hear some of the stories that you have. So tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all.
Okay. As far as RTMC, I am the son of the founder of RTMC, which is Riverside Telescope Makers Conference, which started in 1968. But the connection, everybody goes, how did your dad get into astronomy? And I'm going, well, in 1963 Christmas, I asked for a telescope, and he gave me a 3 1/4-inch telescope at that time. And then he said, I never saw it again, because he took it and started observing, and then said it was too small. And then he had said, I have to build something bigger. And he didn't want to go to the retailers, the giants of the day, because you bought a 4 1/4-inch reflector telescope for $1,000, which when a house cost $13,000 in 1965,
that's some big money.
That's big money. So there's some people who may know of Warren Estes. He was the astronomy teacher at the Riverside Community College. He was part of the Riverside Astronomical Society. And he and a couple other folks joined together and helped my dad build a redwood base 8-inch telescope with galvanized pipe joints for setting the altazimuth connection. So, and then the only thing he didn't make physically himself was the mirror. he got that. He said, it's beyond me and anybody else's scope. So he in about 1965 finished this project and then started taking it around to schools, including mine was the guinea pig. I was 6th grade, had your dad come to class and talk about his telescope having actually done elementary astrophotography back in the day when 35 millimeter was king.
Yeah, yeah, those were definitely the days of that time. So.
Yes, and I was thinking about all this last night, and I says, you know why the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference came to fruition is because his first official project was building that telescope. And so he was such a promoter. He liked to call himself a promoter of astronomy. He was kind of an evangelist of it. Mm-hmm. And he said that he was going to, I'm losing track, but so he loved to share everything he learned. Mm-hmm. In other words, when he took and presented his pictures, he said, you guys can do this too.
Yeah.
You know, and he basically took that point of view all throughout his career. He was a Twinkie salesman to pay the bills, mm-hmm. full-time, but a full-time amateur astronomer, made it his extracurricular life. People are really surprised he ended up being, for the last 5 years of his life, the full-time astronomy professor at Riverside City College, replacing Bob Dixon at the time then. But he didn't have the formal education of a physicist. He just had his total love and learning from that love. Mm-hmm. So I was listening to Martin, and the synergy is what this place brings mm-hmm. to folks, because observing is in a telescope situation, it's an isolated, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're usually with your own telescope on your own time, and if you bring your spouse or significant other, that's 95% of the time during the year, it's by yourself. You're a researcher. But RTMC brought a synergy to the folks who are usually by themselves, you know, and mm-hmm. brings them together and just get all these ideas. I mean, Dobsonian was great in the day because he was at the first Riverside Telescope Makers Conference, and you know, he was at the other end of the state, and he was promoting astronomy just like my father was, and it made a great merger of powers.
Yeah, fantastic. So it sounds like amateur astronomy really had quite a profound effect on you, and also a lot of the people who are here.
Every vacation was a astronomy event. We would be hiking anywhere, and Dad would know something about this where the sun was and the planets, and we could see Venus. And I think one time I remember this story. We were up at Mount Rainier and saw Jupiter in the middle of the day.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of the day. I mean, this is like we're up at about halfway up the Rainier Mountain, uh-huh. and he says, "Oh, I think Jupiter's going to be like 4 hands from the sun," and we all saw it.
Yeah, and this was before computers.
This was like late 60s.
Okay, so
before any electronic thing. And I was thinking about your question about amateur astronomy. Mm-hmm. Actually, there's two forces. Since the day that electricity was made general in our country, mm-hmm. you have lights everywhere. Mm-hmm. Then you have light pollution.
Yes.
And but before Tesla, our famous car maker, excuse me, that's a joke more. But you know, he's the father of the name, let's say. But the light pollution was not there pre-1900. Mm-hmm. So everybody could actually be an observer.
Yeah.
And most of the Greek and Babylonian empires created the constellation names that we see. and the Greeks just put them, and the Romans put them into Latin names. But it was, everybody could still be an astronomer. The tools are there. And it's kind of amazing. In the '60s, they were part of Apollo. They really were, because what they did is one of the projects that RAS, Riverside Astronomical Society, was part of, was a mile-long cable which measured occultations of the moon by stars, because radar could not penetrate and give any definition to the moon features, but you could see it around the edge if a star passed by it. But if you had a line of a mile long and put 10 stations, did beeper, they would be able to determine the topography of the moon, because radars and there was no sonic that could reach there, sonar. So that gave them the ability to figure out where they were going to land the Apollo.
Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't realize that was help from the amateurs to make that happen.
Yeah, it did, and it was a college professor who was working for NASA, and that helped them get the preliminary work for how they were going to figure out where they could land.
And they kind of talk a little bit about light pollution as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We really are losing the sky all over the world.
Yes, that was one of the subjects earlier today.
Yeah, and that ability to see the sky is often life-changing for people who have lived in a very light-polluted sky for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden go out to somewhere with very dark skies and they see the Milky Way for the first time, and they're just absolutely blown away. And for a lot of people, it's very profound. I know for me, when I did that 10 years ago, it was pretty profound for me. So to kind of help combat light pollution, what are some of the things that can help with that? I mean,
that's a good question. Support your national parks. Because they are large swaths of land, and national monuments and state parks. They are trying to keep areas natural, and so part of the light pollution is that it's metropolitan. But other than being politically active, stopping it from growing, it's a constant challenge, because I love it when you go out to even places. Palm Springs is a city, but you can just get outside of that area to the northeast, and you get a mountain between you and the city, you've got a good chance. But most of the larger metropolitan areas is kind of lost. My dad had funny little jokes or funny little sayings when we were out in star parties, because south of Riverside was undeveloped.
Oh yeah,
okay.
That time, yeah.
But there would be either fog or smog, and we were just above it.
Yeah, there you go.
And so the light was dimmed because there was a layer of fog covering the city, or smog. But we don't want smog. But back in the '60s, it was like, oh wow, we can observe out here just 15 miles away and be fairly dark. But I'm sure there's lots of projects. I was hearing for the first time a lot of projects that are working around light pollution, Bureau and management and stuff like that. But I don't know anything personally, but it's important. That makes some of the NASA projects more important, because they're actually above the atmosphere anyway. And so there's huge value to the professional projects, Hubble and et cetera. But that doesn't solve the light pollution issue, but it's a great surrogate, because the detail is just, even if you had no light pollution, you have other things in the atmosphere that obscure the images, so you get outside the atmosphere. So promoting those types of projects are amazing.
Yeah, and to kind of go into our chat room, a question from Astro YYZ to kind of sort of paraphrase it with it, which is, what are astronomy clubs doing to attract more people that are not necessarily known for being involved in astronomy, sort of like a more diverse crowd coming in? Is that sort of something that looks very important to making sure that amateur astronomy can stay popular in the future?
I think there's geographical dispersion of people who are in it, because there's people who aren't here that I know that are involved in it. A guy in Huntington Beach is doing kind of a sidewalk approach, personal acquaintance of mine. Websites, Griffith Planetarium has a great director. He was a friend of my father's, and they would get together. I can't remember his name.
Dr. Crump.
Yeah, Dr. Ed Crump.
So
okay.
Actually working
okay.
With, so yeah.
But when he goes on KABC with Doug McIntyre and talks informally about what's going on, follow up on those types of things that you hear. If you hear it on the radio, there's a website. There's a planetary society out of Pasadena. Mount Wilson is always involved. There's websites. You look up, you Google amateur astronomy in my town, or amateur astronomer, depending. But it's really a grassroots type event. I mean, or a movement that grows slowly. It takes a love of nature. It takes a love of sharing that with others, you know. And that was the thing about Clifford Holmes, was that that was it. I mean, he was going and experiencing it, or taking people with him. You know, when he passed away in 1993, there were 500 folks at his memorial, most of them were from his astronomy class so find out where the nearest astronomy club class or club is in your local college or science teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, it can start all the way from that, but there's all kinds of resources. It's interest, it's enthusiasm.
Yeah, it sounds like the future of amateur astronomy is sort of up to us, and it's really our effort that we have to put in to make sure that the future of it is what we want to see.
Well, it's like anything else. You have to pass it along to the next generation, and you do that by involving the younger generation.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, bringing the kids with you to astronomy. They might get bored to death, but I think they'll pick it up, because they'll say, these people over time, they'll figure out that there's enthusiasm and expertise and longevity. I mean, there's people I know here who are incredibly enthused, have for years. Ashley McDermott was with my dad for many years, running all these activities. It was just pretty amazing how these people stick through it. And, you know, as long as they're a significant other is brought along too, that actually makes it a little stronger. You can convince them.
Cool. All right,
So,
Travis, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks
We really appreciate it. And we also want to thank the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference for being so nice enough to host us out here today and get us internet literally in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to take a quick break on tomorrow, and when we come back, your comments from last week's show. So stay tuned. There's more tomorrow right after this.
Science. It both draws us together and tears us apart. Brings discoveries to cure us and threaten us. It is neither good nor evil. It is what we decide to make of it. There is so much more to learn, and we are curious. Together, let's explore the science of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome back. Before we get into the comments from last week's show, we want to give another huge thank you to our Escape Velocity citizens, as well as our Orbital citizens, and of course our suborbital citizens. These folks contribute $2.50 an episode or $5 a month. Every bit helps, and we wouldn't be able to continue making these wonderful shows if it wasn't for you. If you would like to become a citizen of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, and I'm, of course, joined by Carrie Ann and Ben, Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
The parents are back in town, so no more...
You guys didn't throw any parties, did you?
Of course not. We don't have friends. We just don't throw parties. So we're going to go ahead and delve into the tasty comments from last week's show.
Tasty comments.
Delicious. And of course, last week's show we got to interview Troy McCann from Moonshot Space. Quite a fascinating young man he was. And that, of course, was Orbit 11.20. So if you'd like to check that out, I'm pretty sure it's going to be somewhere near me in this video queue on whatever website you're on. So definitely check that out. So the first comment we're going to go ahead and dive into is from YouTube, from user Streetwind. And they said, the best part about a Chinese commercial launch provider? Proper launch broadcast. Big smiley face.
Well, I mean, maybe, hopefully.
In theory, yeah.
In theory,
exactly. That is one of our gripes with the Chinese broadcasts is that...
Wait, it's assuming there's a broadcast at all, really.
Exactly. That's exactly
so
it.
So assuming that there's a broadcast at all, usually there isn't. Sometimes there's like really super scary, dangerous footage of somebody who was like
way too close
way
to this
too
rocket.
Close, like entirely
this
too close.
hypergolic rocket, yeah.
So there's that. Or even if there is a broadcast, it's sort of like, hey, by the way, we did a thing last week. And like, that's it. It's really, like, it's sketchy at best.
Yeah.
China, Blue Origin, not sure which one. To be fair, Blue Origin has been broadcasting their stuff.
They've been getting much better.
I'm poking fun.
Yeah, no joke.
But seriously.
But really.
Wow, that's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. In theory, they could have some really amazing broadcasts. Amazing.
Wow. For the show.
It's okay.
Just stop talking. This is why I don't do this anymore.
All
right, next one.
So, also from YouTube, from Pony Bottle, they said...
Is that a pony in a bottle? How does that work? Is
No,
that
it's
like
a bottle
ship in a
for a
bottle?
pony.
Or a bottle for a pony?
I thought it was a pony shaped like a bottle.
Or
Ooh,
a bottle
that's another...
shaped like a pony?
Or a bottle shaped like a pony.
We had too many
Boom.
options.
All of them, whichever you decide. Humanoid robots were also chosen due to the need to be able to use tools that could also be used by humans, i.e. one toolkit fits all. So that's an interesting comment. So we were actually talking about why Robonaut was somewhat of a humanoid shape and why it kind of resembled a person. And we discussed the functionality of that last week. We discussed maybe there's some sort of more sentimental value, like, hey, it looks like you know, be into space.
I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't
either.
thought at all about, making it so that it can use a wrench.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the same time, you don't necessarily need it to have a head like that, though, right? I mean...
Well, I remember last week they brought up the fact that I guess the head had two cameras that are supposed to simulate, the way a human would see.
Depth perception.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it still doesn't need to be right there, right? It could be...
No, but just humanoid in general. It very well could have looked like a weird octopus-looking thing. It very well
that's
could have...
exactly what one of the comments was last week. Why don't you make it look like an octopus?
Right, have multiple arms to be able to do multiple things at once.
Because that would be creepy. Imagine, would you like to be on a commercial space station with this octopus robot be like,
not the way it goes. Like, hey guys, it could be super hyper functional and it could do all these things. And like one arm could be a screwdriver, one arm could be a wrench, and it would be totally great. Everyone went, no, that'd be creepy.
That's a different show.
No, that'd just be creepy. We're just gonna go ahead and make it look like a human, and that's cool.
Astro Cthulhu?
Like, we already have, space wrenches that we can 3D print in space anyway, so it's cool. We'll just give it a hand, and then we'll give it a face, and we'll call it Robonaut. How cool is that? Like, that's not the thought process that goes into that, for sure.
All right, that's fair. I mean, yeah, It
is practical, though, when you think about it in that way.
I don't think I want to be... If there's a space octopus robot, I don't think I want to be on the same ship as the space octopus robot. I I think it'd be terrifying.
Okay.
Well,
we just all learned something about Ben today.
He has a thing for.
It's fantastic.
He has a thing against many armed
asking what
creatures.
we're talking about. We're talking about Robonaut, why it's a humanoid shape
versus an octopus shape,
exactly,
or any critter.
Right.
To be
I mean,
honest.
it could be a box, right? There's just a box with like little
a
arms.
box is super functional. Absolutely. Let's just put cubes in space.
Oh, weird. No one's ever thought of that before. I'm in.
Next.
All right, YouTube. Kevin F. He states, "Hi guys. How large would a low Earth orbit space station would have to be? How large would a low Earth orbit space station have to be to make out its outline with your naked eyes from the surface of Earth? Awesome show."
So I think the trick. So I originally was going to be like, size doesn't matter. It's how reflective it is, and then Carrie Ann pointed out that's not what he's asking.
Right, because this comment came off of YouTube, right? And somebody else had responded and said something along those lines of like, well, you can see the International Space Station with your naked eye. It's not a big deal. And then Kevin actually followed up and said, no, I understand that, but how big would it have to be so it doesn't look just like a shooting star?
For
So-
like discernible details? Or
Yeah,
shape?
I think so, right? Because you use a telescope and you get those really cool shots of like ISS. What is it?
Transit.
Thank you.
Across-
Transiting
yeah.
like the moon or the sun
And you
or
get to
anything
see
along
the
those lines.
panels.
Yeah, and you can
Super
see the solar
neato.
panels. Exactly. That
Yeah.
looks really,
Super
really
neato.
cool.
Yeah.
Super neato.
That's what NASA says it looks.
That's a technical question.
Hashtag super neato.
Yeah, no, that's totally technical. So I think that's where this question is coming from. That's the initial intent: is how large would it have to be to look like, to be able to discern that with your naked eye? No need for a telescope. And I have no idea.
Probably a
how
good
big
question
that
for Jared. It's also assuming low Earth orbit, which is in the text, right? So that kind of dictates where it's going to be. Because technically speaking, you could orbit the Earth like a foot above the Earth, the surface.
Right,
of
like
the Earth.
airplanes technically are in a
Sure,
low Earth orbit
right?
to a
Except
certain
that,
extent.
yeah, they don't really. Yeah, it's just that maintaining the necessary velocity through atmosphere is
Right.
not a thing.
Right.
So at least not with current technology. Is that a true statement? Yeah, that's a true statement. True enough statement. I don't know. It'd have to be a lot larger. I think that's a Jared quote. You have any idea? I mean, it'd have to be huge.
I cheated. I did a little research. Apparently, someone has asked a similar question somewhere on this thing called the internet. And what I was able to dig out from a response is any spacecraft features must be at least 100 meters or so large for them to be discernible by the naked eye, but at a distance of 400 kilometers. And they use, of course, the ISS as comparison. It measures 109 meters. Truss length by 73 meters, solar array length, and nominally orbits at 418 to 423 kilometers altitude.
But the problem is that you can't, with your naked eye, you can't make out any of those features. It just looks like a dot.
Right.
That goes,
Exactly.
"Phew."
So
So it's got to be a lot. Based on that, it's got to be a lot larger than that. Because, yeah. We'll have to get back to you.
Right. I think
Really big.
Independence
really big.
Day.
Yeah.
That was
It's our Independence Day!
Ew. All right. Okay. So
Really quickly, so there is somebody in our Twitch chat room that's asking how to ask a question. Go ahead, exactly as somebody else mentioned. Feel free to write it into the Twitch chat room. We'll be able to see it there.
Magic.
So yeah, and be able to push it air. So go ahead and do that. Oh wait, there it is. Says, how come the International Space Station doesn't just float away into space? And if it did happen, what would we do? # question. Which you don't actually need to hashtag that, but I appreciate that nonetheless.
That's the shirt for the show. # question.
I feel like that's the shirt for every show. Is # question.
So, I mean, the simple explanation is we're on the sphere, the globe of the Earth, and in orbit, a lot of people get confused. They think that you're going up, but you're actually going sideways really fast, and you're falling around the Earth. You're just constantly following. Think of it like if you were to take a baseball and throw it, it kind of goes in an arc, but it only goes so far. If you were to take that same baseball and throw it harder, it's going to go further. And if you were to take it and throw it, hard enough, it's just going to never stop, and it's going to go all the way around the planet. But gravity's still always pushing down on that.
Or pulling
how
down.
you want to say that? So
Towards Earth.
So you're trying to if you're slower than orbital speeds, you're gonna essentially fall back in. If you're faster than orbital speeds, you would slingshot out. But at just the right speed, you're gonna basically sit there and just fall around the planet all the time. I think decent enough explanation.
Yeah, as Jenna says, the International Space Station is constantly falling toward the center of the Earth, but has enough horizontal velocity, or is going fast enough, to miss hitting the Earth. If that helps at all.
Yeah, as Jared says. Hi, Jared.
Hi,
If
Jared.
You're watching from. You're falling, but constantly missing the ground.
Right.
Is essentially.
Is the other way to look at it. Absolutely.
How poetic.
Absolutely. All right, so go ahead. Sorry,
All right,
not to cut you off.
onwards. Comment
I'm
from.
sorry. From Vax Headroom. Yes, Ben. Gravity sucks.
Thanks, Vax.
There it is.
Good.
So this comment is from Facebook from Curtis Marsh. That would be a great job creator to go ahead and put up GPS satellites around Mars. Martian telecommunications?
It will be in the future, but we can't really get there today.
Not today.
I mean, human.
Yeah, exactly.
Humans can. But the rovers on Mars do talk to one of the satellites. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Which is not GPS exactly, but it's still a variation of a satellite talking to something that is positioned on the ground of Mars.
Yes. Actually,
and would it still be considered GPS, Global Positioning System satellite?
MPS, Mars Positioning System.
MPS?
Yeah, well, I suppose
But
it'd
you
be
can still
EPS.
technically say
It says
global on a
it's a
different
globe.
planet.
It's just a different globe, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Earth. It's not like when
And
we
we'll
call
have to-
our star the sun.
Right.
You know,
What a great problem that's going to be, where we're going to have to differentiate between the Earth Global Positioning System and the Mars Global
So
Positioning System.
GPS and MGPS?
Yeah, it's going to be eGPS and
Sure.
MGPS, I think. Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
Or 3 GPS and 4 GPS.
Aha! See what you did there.
I get it.
Because of the planet
There's rock
and
from the sun.
Yep.
Boom.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah,
That's a
more
good one.
acronyms. Exactly. It's
Ben
not like
on
we need that.
fire with the great words.
Yeah, I mean, eventually I think we will need some sort of GPS, but I think before we go to GPS on Mars, we're going to need some sort of better communication system. As you mentioned, there are currently satellites orbiting Mars that kind of act as a leg. It basically takes the transmissions and repeats them back over to Earth. That's the hand movement that goes with that, in case you were wondering.
Right, because it goes from the rover
space
or the
traffic
lander
controller.
up to the
Space traffic
satellite
controller, that's
over.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, legs over the signal. But
Sure.
we're going to need a lot more. We're going to need, much like what many companies are working to build here, kind of a global internet constellation. We're going to want likely the same thing on Mars. And we're going to want to have those constellations that talk to each other as well. So that makes a lot of sense to me before we have some sort of GPS system on Mars itself, because we can't get humans there. So, but someday,
Right.
someday, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Okay. So next comment we have from YouTube. This is from Red Dwarf LV. Four.
Red Dwarf.
Oh, I'm educated, aren't I? Oh, goodness. Aren't SRBs notoriously hard to reuse economically?
SRBs being
solid rocket boosters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want me
I
to
was
take
getting
that?
there,
Who
just
wants
for
to
some
take
reason
one?
that word wasn't coming to me, and so it wasn't actually a question in so much as I was hesitating to speak. Go ahead.
I mean, we had solid rocket boosters on the space shuttle program on the two sides. They were the things on the sides.
Yep.
Hence the two sides. Time to end this show.
It's been one of those days.
Mommy and Daddy haven't done the show for a while, so we're a little rusty. And yeah, they did reuse them, but I mean, barely. It was the refurbishment process on that is pretty expensive, and you're essentially just refilling them with solid fuel again, and it's not that much cheaper to reuse them. At least the technology hadn't been born to make them that much cheaper to reuse them than to just build them new. But that's not to say that that technology couldn't be built. Prior to SpaceX landing rockets, there wasn't technology to cheaply and easily, or from a low-cost way, reuse rockets either.
Right.
You look at the space shuttle, and that's a example of exactly what not to do. So, you look at the space shuttle, and you look at building a new rocket. It costs you less to build a new rocket than to refurbish the space plane. Let's just build a new rocket. So, up until very, very recently, we couldn't even do that with rockets. So, it could be. I'm not going to say it can't be done.
Right.
We just need someone to look at that industry and do it. Solids have specific use cases, though, right? So it's not like if you just slam a solid motor on a vehicle that it's awesome. There are downsides to using solids. As many people mentioned, you can't really easily shut them off. That's true. But they're upsized using solids as well. So, I'm not sure this is something that we need to attack right now. I don't think any of the space companies that are working on reusability are like, I need a reusable solid.
Right.
I mean, I know Virgin Galactic's working on their hybrid motor, but that's a different thing entirely. So I'm not sure this is actually an issue today.
So then, does that mean, in terms, and my knowledge on this is very basic, I'll admit that. So does that mean, so the difference between then solid fuel rockets and liquid fuel rockets?
Hard rocket versus soft
okay,
rocket.
that's not entirely off, though.
Yeah, solid fuel versus liquid. Yeah.
Versus squishy fuel.
Versus squishy fuel, yeah.
Right.
The huggable kind.
Sloshy fuel, squishy fuel.
The gentle giant fuel
Yeah.
versus the intimidating.
So, what's your question?
I don't even know anymore.
You're welcome.
Okay. Oh, no, yeah. So in terms of liquids versus solids, I know that liquids are kind of right now the way of the future, if I'm not mistaken, just based on the little reading I've done in terms of things like reusability or just sustainability, I mean. Like what's the big hoo-whop there?
They work very, very differently from one another, right? So it kind of just depends on what it is that you need to do and how fast you need to do it. If you're talking about throttle ability, it's not that you can't throttle solid rockets or solid fuel rockets. You can, what they say is you bake it into the mold, right? So think of, as opposed to a taper candle, you have one of those candles that kind of, right? And so you can, different patterns will create different burns.
Yeah.
So you are either burning a whole lot at one time or you're burning a very little, and you can kind of throttle it in that sort of manner. The big deal is that as soon as you light a solid fuel, it lights and it goes, and that's it. And there's none of this like blowing it out and stopping and then restarting and all that sort of fun stuff. Am I?
No, that's right. Yep. So,
right. But the thing with the liquid is, like, if you use a little bit, you kind of go, oh, well, we didn't mean to do that, or we were just doing a static fire, and we can either offload the liquid or put the liquid back on, or any of those sorts of things. You have a little bit more flexibility in that kind of way.
Okay.
Donna says, solids have a higher power density. Liquids are good to throttle and able to restart. Solid burns to depletion. Like, once you light it, that's it. You've lit it, and then you're done at that point. So they are just slightly different things for different applications. It's not necessarily that one is better than the other, just depending on what you want to do. Does that kind of help?
Here's a really good way. The space shuttle on the launch pad, right? They would light the 3 space shuttle main engines. Those were liquid engines, liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. Those engines would light, the shuttle would bounce back and forth and sit there and kind of equal out, and then they would light the solids. Now keep in mind, they held the space shuttle down when they were on liquids, but the moment those solids light, there was, if they didn't let go, it doesn't matter, they're going to space. Like, the solids would just rip right out of their enclosures and just push you off into space. So you're not holding a solid back. And Orbital ATK has these Orbital ATK Space Division in Northrop Grumman has these incredible videos of the new 5-segment solid motors on their side, and they instantly light. And they basically just turn the ground to glass underneath them. They are intense.
I still
and
want
powerful.
glass from that, by the way.
Yeah, Orbital ATK Space Division, Northrop Grumman. We would love
you can
some
make extra,
SRB
like,
glass.
little trinkets out of that. Like, I want, thank you, exactly. Now, in my own camera, I want like a pendant or like a keychain. Like, we have to be able to figure out some sort of way to make maybe like molds for like goblets and crap. Like, I want SRB glass. Thank you. Keep going.
No, I agree. No, that's basically, and where the other thing with solids is they instantly light, whereas liquids take a second to kind of spin up.
Okay.
So the moment you light a solid, it goes. So where solids make a ton of sense is launch abort systems, right? Because you need it to go now, and you don't need to throttle, you don't need to do anything. You just need to not be there anymore. GTFO, right? So solids are just like boosh, and off you go.
Yeah.
Peace out.
All right.
Whoosh. So they make a ton of sense in those situations.
Okay.
But yeah, the moment you want to like throttle down or like restart it, or technically you might be able to bake something like that in where
a little more graceful.
You have to. I mean, that's kind of. I'm not sure you would actually be able to do that, but you might be able to. But yeah, that's where they're just not as good at those types of things. But they do serve purposes, right? You slam them on the side of a vehicle. You need to spend a lot of stuff up to space.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use solids to send a lot of stuff up to space.
Do a lot of
Fun
things.
fact: the space
awesome.
shuttle had I think an 11-point firing chain for each of the solid rocket boosters that were on the side of the space shuttle. The entire volume inside of that booster was up to pressure through 11 steps in 0.3 of a second. So that entire when
the whole stack,
when the computer says go, it goes through 11 steps, and the entire stack, that whole solid rocket booster, is up to pressure in 0.3 of a second.
And you don't need that much for a launch abort system. That was for the entire space shuttle. Right, so anyhow, we're diverging.
That's amazing. A little bit.
So a lot of people in the space industry hate solids because you put humans on solids and solids shake a lot and blah, 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 blah. I am not anti-solid or anti-liquid or pro-solid or pro-liquid. I am pro, use the thing that makes the most sense. Anyhow, we diverged seriously.
But the initial question was, aren't SRBs, solid rocket boosters, notoriously hard to reuse economically?
I mean, the answer is today they are, but so were rockets up until today, right? I mean, so yes, but that's because no one has actually spent the time to make them reusable. Maybe you can't. Maybe you look at that and you just go, this doesn't make any sense. I could see that being the case, right? Sure. Or maybe because of the way it burns, you just cool, and then you just put the goo back in it. I mean, building. I don't know. I guess I don't know. No, but no one spent the time to do it up until now. So there you go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you. No, I genuinely appreciate that because it's always something that's kind of like I try to like research a little, and I'm just like I don't really think I still understand. But that actually was very good explanations from both of you.
Yay!
So thanks, Mom
More
and Dad.
from her. Yeah.
Yeah, she was on fire.
On point.
I mean, pun intended. Pun.
Are we pointing? This is awkward.
On camera boop for you folks live at home. Doesn't get much better here at tomorrow.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of your comments. Again, if you would like to perhaps be featured in the show, go ahead and leave your comments on any of the channels that you are currently on right now, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or Facebook or all those fun things that kids are using these days, and we will perhaps use it in next week's show. But before we go, we definitely want to recognize our ground support citizens. These people contribute $1 an episode or $1 a month. And again, every little bit helps. You guys are the lifeblood of the show, and we wouldn't be able to continue making these awesome shows if it weren't for you.
So if you would like to be blood of the show.
If you would like to be a drop of blood in the body of tomorrow, aka become a citizen, this got weird, please head on over.
Now, we had this great show, and then Mom and Dad come on the show and derail the entire end of it.
To be fair, it really was your fault.
It is beautiful. But yeah, no, go ahead and head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Again, if you'd like to be a part of us, a part of the show, if you'd like to join what we like to call this beautiful vessel called Tomorrow.
Hey, to be fair, we are an awesome community.
We are.
This is just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Alrighty.
Now, who do we have on next week?
Oh, yes. So next week's show is going to be very exciting because next week's show is going to be...
That's what happens when you lose your place,
we
unfortunately.
are absolutely going to have a wonderful guest named Frank Bunger.
Sure.
CEO of Orion Span. Definitely a fascinating individual that we will have plenty of great questions for. And we will also welcome questions from you on our chat.
This is going to be an amazing After Dark.
Yeah,
We're going to let you into a few secrets. By the way, if you want to know where all of that just came from, definitely watch After Dark.
Totally.
All right. Take us out. We're done.
Oh, yeah, we're done. Thank you.
Woo! No audio. Oh my god,
That's
that was
all right.
hilarious.
Everyone's clapping in the chat room anyway, so it's kind of like the same thing.
Oh, God. What? I have no idea what's...
Oh, we lost audio, right? So.
Oh, we lost audio?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I'm taking my earpiece out. Dad, I can't hear you anymore.
Oh.
I never could.
Wait, you really couldn't? So you just sat
I had
in silence?
no ears.
Oh, you just sat in
Nothing.
silence while Dada was talking.
I can hear him through the glass.
Just nodding your head like,
Yeah, he's explaining
God.
things. I was like, yeah, it's great.
He's probably right.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Whatever
I'm
it is,
sure
I
he's
bet
correct.
it's intelligent.
That pen.
Knows
Good
more
show.
about that than
Good
I
job.
do.
That was a
Yeah,
good
job, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
We threw a curveball at you for the. Hey, by the way, we're changing how we're doing the middle of it. So yeah. So we figured we'd explain the blood of the show thing. So the whole.
That's your fault.
It is my fault because I made it.
1000% your fault.
I know. So I will re-edit the middle of the show where we were staging for Jared's segment. I'll edit that back into the After Dark segment, and then you'll have to forward through it and find when we just had these awkward.
So the big deal here is that while Carrie-Ann has a tendency to speak off the cuff and every once in a while says some really, really stupid crap, Ben almost never speaks off the cuff. And when he does, he almost always says some sort of weird crap. And so we're trying to walk Jade through what we're doing slightly differently with the handoff because we want the Capcom position to really be Capcom and not just like, hi, I'm here and I do stuff, and then never say anything again through the rest of the show, or sometimes come back at the end and go, all right, cool, I actually have control of the third segment. We want Capcom to be the constant throughout the show because that's kind of what Capcom is the communications officer for the most part of the whole mission, the whole show, right? So Capcom comes in the beginning and says, I am Capcom, I will be here, here's the things that are going on, I am directing this, and then for the second segment, we don't want Capcom to just all of a sudden run away. That doesn't seem to make sense to us. So for Capcom to be able to say, hi, still me again, still in control, by the way, I'm handing it over now, here you go. You know, Jared, have fun with that. And then Jared has fun with that. And then we come back for the third segment and say, I am here again. I'm still in control of this particular segment. That's what we want. That's what we want for that particular role. That's what makes sense to me. That's what.
We're trying it out. I mean, we tried it out this week for the first time.
And so, of course, we just threw it at Jade. So here we are. Ben's trying to walk Jade through it. Like, hey, we're doing something a little bit different. So, Patreons and the lifeblood of the show and blood and body. And I was like, no, what are you doing? What are you saying? What is happening? This is we have no sign of the tomorrow. That's not a thing. We're not doing that. No. No.
It's like Zoltan.
Jared, you do not need to stick around if you would like to stick around. Yeah, Zatfan.
Oh, yeah, Jared, go enjoy your conference.
Yeah,
go out of here, Jared.
Bye.
Mine is Theta left. You definitely can leave. Don't worry about it. But love you. Love you, baby. Yeah. Yes, Stratty, does that mean that Jade gets to tell Ben to shut up? Absolutely. Because Capcom is in control.
Wait, hang on. Where's Jared? Wait, do we get a final goodbye from Jared? I gotta put my ear back in.
Jesus Christ.
What do you guys, did you guys pull me back on?
Yeah, you're back on the air now.
Oh, okay. Well, what's going
Don't
on?
swear you're on the air.
Hold on, I don't even have my ears in, so hold on. I need to turn everything on, so.
All this to say goodbye.
Give me a moment. I still can't.
Oh, you still can't hear?
Oh, great.
Okay, hold on. Now I have to change my microphone. So I don't sound like I'm in a submarine.
You do sound like you're in a submarine.
Now it shouldn't sound like I'm in a submarine.
There you go.
Just saying.
Did they have fun?
So what am I doing?
I don't know. We're just saying goodbye. Did they have fun?
Yeah.
That's great. It was a great
Yeah,
interview. That's all. We just want to say goodbye and thank you and go enjoy your conference.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to go look at shiny things.
Okay, go look at shiny things.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right,
Biggest
bye.
crowd.
Yay.
I'm not sure that's going to
I
happen.
love how you're like, oh, no, we're just saying goodbye. Let me ask you a question. No, it's goodbye. No, are you staying, though? It's like the longest on-air Minnesota goodbye since how to speak Minnesotan.
I'm Minnesotan. I do long goodbyes. That's what I do.
3 days later, when you finally leave.
All right.
Man.
Wrong parted Ben hair looks weird.
Oh, wait. My ear's out. What'd you say?
Wrong parted Ben hair looks weird.
Wrong parted Ben hair. Ah!
Huh?
Oh, because...
I like it, though.
Well, see, it only works to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Doesn't.
So we have... how do I describe what's going on to the world? We have preview screens that show us what's coming up what's next, and a few of the different cameras. And in the Zoom stuff that we use now instead of Skype, they do what you normally do with video conferencing, which is in your own video, they actually flip it around. There you go. So that's kind of what we see.
Hey, there it is.
Without the infinite repeating on
It's
one corner. Yeah. Isn't that wicked?
That's way more impressive than
Awesome.
we actually have to deal with.
So Zoom will flip your own local video and flips it horizontally so it looks like a mirror to you. But that means that we can see our own flipped around video. And when you put it in program and preview, we had one that was forward and one that was backward. And I could high five myself. It was fun.
Yeah. Fun. That's what we'll call it.
That's what that was.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Do we need Kay McCoy? I don't understand. And no, Johnny Spacer asks, is Ben wearing bell bottoms?
No.
No.
Thankfully
I
not.
wish.
You wish? You want me to wear bell bottoms?
Bell bottoms are making a comeback.
Why?
They made a comeback.
Aren't they dead again?
Because why not? No, they will never die.
Isn't the 90s making a comeback? I hope so, because I'm
90s,
wearing
I feel like
kind
never
of
really
90s.
left, to be honest. 90s is kind of like that weird cousin at the party who just kind of stays a little longer than you welcome them to, but you love them because
Because I feel like I'm dressed.
nostalgic about
I
the
feel like
90s.
I'm kind of dressed 90s-ish.
That actually
Little
describes
bit.
my entire marriage.
Ben's the weird cousin.
Oh, that's awkward and weird now. Weirder.
I love it. Things are just getting so weird and lovely on this show, and it's really just being great. I love bell bottoms.
What? Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Kay McCoy wants to know if we need the shipments of What?
I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
It's like a sour cream, if I remember correctly, but like not sour cream.
Top the tater. Sounds like a party game. You guys want to play Top the Tater?
It sounds like a really I don't have a lot of things to entertain myself party game. Of I don't know, we got potatoes and
I have a potato
butter.
and a little hat.
We'll just play top the tater.
Want to play?
Okay.
Top the tater.
Great. Let's do that.
And then do it.
What Rebel Ace Friesland asks?
Friesland.
What the hell are bell bottoms? Off to Google.
What?
Whoa.
You're too young.
Whoa.
Excuse me?
Not okay.
Have you not seen that 70s show?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's perfectly acceptable answer if you don't know what bell bottoms are. I am okay with
I'm
that.
offended.
I wasn't born in the 70s, but I know what bell bottoms
Yeah, no kidding.
Sure, but Rebel Ace Friesland possibly was born in the 90s.
Or aughts.
Yeah, but hasn't
In theory, the aughts, yeah.
that 70s show been off air for a decade?
It doesn't mean it's still not a classic. I
mean-
bet people are still watching it somewhere.
I overheard somebody say something along those lines too about oh, it's a classic, and then reference something from 10 years ago, and I was like,
feels like
screw you, buddy.
I'll show you classic.
I don't know, classic stuff, no doubt. Oh, we are not talking.
So apparently, Sucky is 10 minutes behind the live show, and it's just now beginning after dark.
Wow.
So clap. Yeah, I know. And in 10 more minutes, we'll see that comment. My preview screen's over here. I really need to get.
This over there,
Thank
like
you.
we've been saying, why is it that it's only bothersome to you when you go through it, even though every single person who is hosted makes that mistake, and you watch them do it, and you just say, it's okay, just look at the camera with the red light on it.
Yeah, just look at the camera through it. That's how I
Then
knew
why
I
didn't
needed
you
to
do
look
that?
over. I did. I
Why
looked
didn't
over
you
there.
do that?
I did that.
Why didn't you just do that?
I was looking at the screen. And
Why
then
did you do that? Why didn't you just look at that?
Well, I was looking.
Why did you look at that?
Well, I wanted to
Why
see
isn't
what
that on there anyway?
Well, because
Actually, why doesn't that just work? Why don't we have a third one, by the way? We have 3 cameras.
More questions?
No, I'm just trying to figure out why you don't want to fix it until you have to deal with it.
I'd like to second those questions. Can we have some... getting hot in here, huh?
Yeah, actually, it's 76 degrees Fahrenheit.
Got the interrogation lights on.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting again.
No, we're not. Just, I'm right again.
I'm just...
Yes, so that is on my list of things to do. It's not quite that easy, but it is on the list.
All right. What's before it on the list?
Labeling the mic packs.
Good, you've done that.
You would appreciate that.
Yeah, I do appreciate that.
Actually, before
and I actually really appreciate the labeling.
Yeah. So actually fixing that screen right there that they can't see.
Yes.
So it doesn't flash all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's trying to figure out how to do that. Once I can figure that out, then I can replicate what that solution is over to these screens. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
He's on record now. You're all witnesses. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we done with that? This show is long. We had a good chunk of After Dark in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I feel like we got a good amount of our awkward out.
Got my dark out.
We need to have awkward fun time with Jade sometime. I think that's the name of the show.
Little AFT.
AFT.
Coming at you. Right hot. And I'll keep looking at the wrong camera. It's gonna really be great.
Oh my God, Vax me at 16. I'm excited for this link.
Oh yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in on this one.
This is fun.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that is good stuff right there.
Camera, I can get this.
Who dat?
That's Vax Headroom.
Awesome.
Whoa.
At 16.
What a babe. Well, I mean.
You know, this is what we need to do now. We then now need to get a. You know, we just hold it in front of my face. We need to get a picture of Mike at 16 and compare.
They do look eerily similar. Similar, that's what I said.
You're done.
Vax with no beard. Omga.
That's awesome.
Smokey Dirk. Awkward fun time with Jade is the name of my ska band.
Because we definitely need more ska bands.
Yeah, we do.
Actually, I think Awkward Fun Time with Jade would actually get quite a few viewers on YouTube. I'm pretty sure.
Careful what you wish for.
I'm pretty
buddy.
sure, buddy. Pretty sure. Like, you could just sit there and just be like, at least like eating like a sandwich or something.
Something viscous. With
Viscous?
lots of mouth noise.
If you could like
Spaghetti.
slip spaghetti,
Yeah,
that would be best.
Yeah, that, and then followed by like some sort of soup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a liquidy soup. Like
Yep.
a watery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like, that would be the entire show with no
Pondering life.
no explanation whatsoever. Like, live with a chat room, just kind of reading it and maybe nodding and laughing from time to time, but never actually acknowledging anything.
Yeah.
But randomly agreeing to things that
Biscuits
nobody
Mouth
can
Noise
hear.
is a great band name.
We are Biscuits Mouth Noise. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. No, that's. Yeah.
Good. Cool. Great.
Yeah, I think that's kind of all I got because I'm hungry now because this show ran so freaking long.
Oh, yeah. All right, we fooding? Are we fooding and then are we Han Soloing? You up for solo? You don't have to.
Oh, I didn't know that was a plan for today.
It's not a plan for today. I'm planning it right now
Wow.
with everyone here. Yeah, so solo if you want to. Solo, yes, no?
Hey, we got my dad a car. They're gonna keep the kids. Yeah.
Solo, yes, solo.
That's
food.
also what? I'm sure it's it's fine. It just was.
We're going to figure out if there's a movie theater nearby that allows me to get tickets, and then we're going to go try to do the solo movie. Although I think since we're no longer on opening day proper, I think it might be a little bit easier. It's still going to be packed, but... All right, let's find out. Hang on. Let's find out live on air. Wait, hang on. Who in the chat room thinks that I'm crazy and there's no way
First of all,
I'm going
everybody.
to get...
Secondly, no, you do that. We'll chat. So, Stratty says, planning right now for right now? Seriously, Ben? That's ad-libbing. Yes, you have no idea. You have no idea.
That is how I live.
Nobody asked you. So, this is the entire life. Yes, exactly. This is what happens. This is everything that happens all of the time. This is exactly why Kat about killed me on our vacation. I wish you could see her face right now. It's about as red as the light I'm looking at. She's pretty much dying and can barely breathe. She knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I just pugged it, is what happened.
She did pretty much pug lock on that one. Yeah. Kat likes to plan things. And the funny thing is that somehow I missed that information. I just did not even think to ask in any way, shape, or form, and we all went on vacation. The problem was that there was a launch that Ben had to be here for in California, and so it was Kat and Donna and I in the middle of Walt Disney World, and something went slightly sideways. I can't remember what I think it was. The ride went down, and so like our fast passes weren't available for it. We had to choose new fast passes. I think that's what it was. And so we're going through. We're trying to choose new fast passes, and Donna and I are like, yeah, okay, well, we can't do that, so we'll go do this over here. And Kat's like, you need to tell me what is happening now. And we were like, the ride is down. We're just choosing new fast passes. It's not that big of a deal. And she's like, I don't know what is next. And we were like, we don't know what's next either. We're trying to figure out what's happening. And she's like, I can't get into the app. And I'm like, okay, I understand that.
Pick anything I want.
To exacerbate the issue.
Freaking out. She was freaking out, and that's not an understatement.
To exacerbate the issue, you and I were able to control everybody's fast passes, but she wasn't, so she couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And so we were like hooking up with fast passes, and all of a sudden, blink, it appears on hers, and she's like, "What's going on?"
Pretty much. She was like, we were like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know what the options are. Like, it's like this or this. It's like not that big of a deal. She about had a meltdown. I thought she was going to kill me.
It was a much more stressful time in my life, too. I bet if we were to do
yes,
that now, I'd
absolutely.
Be like, let's do whatever, wherever. I don't
For sure. I mean, to be fair, she was in a completely new situation, in a completely new environment, and not able to make, not able to make these decisions, but like, I was barely referencing her in any way, shape, or form because I was like, oh, your app is down. Cool. So, Tim, what do you want to do? Yeah, that's what you want to do? Yeah, you do that. I'll do this. We'll do this together without her? Absolutely. Let's do that. And she was like, this is not okay. I'm like, oh, okay. That's good to know.
Did you bring up Expedition Everest?
No, I did not bring up Expedition Everest. Did you want to do that? You want to tell that story?
So, before we get into that,
But you have to check Tar's comment now. Look what he just wrote.
Yeah, Tar's always. Everyone else's chat can go to crap. As long as Kitty has some kind of control over her chat, the rest of the world should be okay.
As Carrie Ann says, I don't plan a lot of things in advance. Some things I do plan in advance, but things like this, I'm like, whatever, we'll figure it out in a moment. Which worked to my advantage. I can basically have any theater and design I want.
It didn't work to your advantage.
Sure, it didn't work to my disadvantage. Now I can pick I can pick who's going to show up. I don't have to pay for tickets and blah, 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 blah. Makes my life easy. So the question now is really, because I don't like doing the 3D movies. I think they're stupid. So I'm going to ignore 3D, right? Everyone agrees, ignore 3D? Cool. So then it's a question of the next movie we can probably hit on time is the 245, and that's just a digital 2D. Or if we wait one more hour till 3:45, that's digital 2D with Dolby Atmos. But I think everyone wants to get out of here, so I'm thinking the 2:45 is okay.
I personally would say the later one.
The 3:45?
Because of food things.
Yeah. Okay. 3:40. Like, did you want to join us?
I have to go to Santa Fe Springs. Gotta go to the swap meet.
Or you could be like, I'm not feeling well.
Yes, because the swap meet cares if you're sick.
Because just call the swap meet and be like, hey, I'm sorry, swap meet. Okay, you gotta go ahead and tuck away those deals for today. Can't go buy some half-price band shirts.
Swap meet, by the way, is also a really weird thing that pretty much only happens in California.
Is it?
Yeah.
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 I thought it was America.
No. No.
It has like a really massively large one.
Maybe it's a coastal thing.
Maybe it's a coastal thing. It's not doesn't happen in the Midwest.
It does not happen in the Midwest.
Really?
You know what does happen in the Midwest?
It's all outside.
No. You know what does happen in the Midwest?
Cold.
Which apparently does not happen in LA because of like weird like street law, like street reasons. Garage sales.
Really?
Yeah. You can have garage sales any day of the week. It does not matter. Does not matter the time of day. You do not need a permit for it.
I don't think I've seen a garage sale.
No, because you need permits and crap. Like,
You
this
need a
is the
permit for a
weirdest,
garage
dumbest
sale?
thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
What about a lemonade stand?
Yard sales and stuff in like Orange County, but it's like they only do them on Saturdays and Sundays, kind of like open house things for.
No. Traditionally,
to do one.
we would have a garage sale on Memorial Day itself because that's when everybody was around. We would have like barbecue things and like whatever. Kieran in the chat room says, Carrie Ann, we have it in the UK known as car boot sales.
I love that.
Hey, in Minnesota, we used to have selling meat out of the back of the trunk of your car as well. So
hey, speaking of
that was like a
selling
thing.
meat, John Bravo on YouTube says, I live in Kentucky and there are swap meets.
Swap meets, but like meats,
But like
M-E-A-T-S is totally different than M-E-E-T-S.
Speaking of meat.
Just, just so you're aware. What?
Fun, awkward time with Jade.
Right, so we already said the later one without Jade. I don't know why you're like freaking out.
Later one without Jade?
Yes, he said yes.
Jade? Okay, great.
I was gonna check with my mom, but I'm not. So yes.
Yes.
You're not
see?
going to? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Anyone else joining us?
No.
From the internet?
Nope.
Do I need any more? No? Anyone here in Orange County?
Disney would shut you down so quick. just the way.
Wait.
Downtown Disney.
If they got a
Downtown
paid
Disney.
ticket for everyone it was being broadcast to, would they really care?
Well.
What did he say? I didn't hear you. I'm not good at hearing.
Yeah, you want to repeat? Because I only got every other word.
Can you do that again, Donna?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
If they got a paid ticket for everyone that it was being broadcast to,
right?
Would they really care?
Yeah, I think they would. Because you could probably intercept the
I'm entering
stream.
in here and you should mute me.
Right? And so then you can't unless you're just like all of a sudden, basically car meat. Sorry, Citizen 43237 is continually freaked out about the meat thing in the back of the car. As well you should be, by the way. I'm not saying that that's a normal thing that should just happen all the time. Yeah. Do they ban large social groups at Disney? I hear something about that. Not as far as I'm aware.
Because remember they were saying that it looked too gang related, and that it was becoming too much of like a gang environment because of the social
but I don't think they
clubs
can
with
just
the
like,
patches and the.
Yeah, they kind of.
I don't think they can just ban people though.
They clamp down on the social clubs, just the social club people.
So it's like what, they don't get to wear their little patches anymore, or leave the vests at home?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, that must be extremely recent because in the last week we've been 4 times, and for sure one of those times I saw a group of like 16 people all sitting in the whole thing.
Right. I think it's just the execution hasn't exactly been on par with the statements they have made, but this was like a couple months ago, I think.
No, like sincerely, this was a huge
It was turning
group
into
of
like
people.
Sons of Anarchy Disney edition.
It was so do you know why and how?
But
they
the thing is, banning them, I don't think you can just ban an entire group of people. That doesn't make any sense.
So here's the for those who aren't familiar, at Disneyland there are these social clubs, and they all generally all wear these like jean jacket vests.
Yeah, they kind of look like motorcycle clubs, but kind of cute.
But Disney-fied, right? And they've got the the Tinkerbell and
yes, Sons of Mickey
groups.
is probably one of them. Actually, yes. Sorry, go on.
So they've got these different clubs. They've got the patches. And this kind of general, as I understand it, this started back a while ago with the addition of monthly payments to annual passes. And again, as I understand it, I'm going to say that a few more times. People complained, the higher, like upper middle class or whatever, complained that like, oh, well, if you allow people to do monthly payments on these passes, you're going to allow the riffraff into the park because they're going to be able to stuff and things. And people were like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Why can't we come into the park?
That's so
we enjoy the
classist.
park. Yeah, exactly. Like, what the hell, guys?
Right?
And Disney was like, yeah, no, we're gonna do this. So they did it, and then kind of as a giant middle finger to those elite people who were like, oh, you shouldn't. They're like, you know what? Fine. And we're going to show up in our, like, motor gangsta.
That is so cool. I didn't
right.
know
And I was totally like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because seriously,
And when
F
was
you guys.
this again? Like around what year?
This was a long time
like
ago.
Like 80s maybe? 90s?
I don't know, a long time ago.
That's
like
amazing.
Well over a decade. Well before we were here.
Stick it to the man.
For anyone who's interested, you can actually Google Disneyland social clubs, and some of the first hits on there are pictures and articles. I put one in the chat room, the IRC chat room, if you are interested. That shows you kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah. So that was a thing that happened, but if that was true, its roots I actually agree with. Like its foundation, I'm like, okay, no, I get that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Also, I think it's great. Like I get that why you did that. But it morphed into this like actual gangs in Disney, like not gangs like you would expect. Like,
but there were actual like conflicts.
There
from
were
what I
actual
understand.
conflicts, yeah, and it was like turf wars and like legal battles started.
Exactly. It got
and it's like,
weird.
It got weird, and that was not. If the original story is true, that's not what this was about at all.
Exactly.
Also, it's Disney.
It's freaking
It's freaking
Disneyland.
stop it.
Come
Just
on.
stop it.
You look silly. You look silly.
Although I do own a tiara, so. I
But you
can't.
pull that off.
I do pull it
Fiercely.
off. I do.
Fiercely.
I actually have worn it at Company X during webcasts. My direct manager, someone showed up and we were staring at them through the control room window. We were just awkwardly staring, and I had the tiara on, but I couldn't stop awkwardly staring because that person hadn't noticed us yet. My manager walked by the glass, stopped with the person he was walking with, backed up, grabbed a camera, took a picture of me. Now, I'm committed at this point, so I can't stop. I can't back down. It was like, cool, and then moved on. And I'm like,
You got it, but see, that's the thing. I admire the commitment. When you're doing something weird or awkward, you gotta go full speed ahead. No stopping this weird train.
yeah, it actually gets worse if you don't, I think.
Oh, it's so much weirder if you just don't commit to it, but then you really get yourself in a pickle because you could be standing there for God knows how long. But
we were actually standing there for a really long time waiting for him to notice us.
it's always worth it, though.
It was mostly worth it.
There's another link in the chat room for those of you who
did
are.
it back up my story, or is it not really?
I haven't gone through all the things yet.
Anyhow. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we got tickets. You need to go do your thing.
Yeah.
Did you thank you. Tell the one last story about Kat at Disneyland.
The last story about Kat at Disneyland. So these two are huge Disney World. I'm sorry. These two are huge Disneyland fanatics. I never questioned Dudda's history on Disneyland because I will fail every time. He knows all of the things. It is amazing. It's part of why we like Disney parks is there's this very rich history behind all of it. It's not just a theme park for kids. There's this incredible story behind everything. Disney World, though, that's where we were married, and it's our jam. So, we're bringing them. That was their anniversary present. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Anniversary present.
Our honeymoon, basically.
Cool. So bring them down for their honeymoon. That sounds weird somehow.
Yeah, it does.
Diamond Parks, again, I had to show up late because of a launch, but, we launched, and literally as soon as we launched, I call the airport, or I call up the airline, I'm like, cool, get me a ticket. They figured it out, flew me down. And then, the next day or something like that, we go to Animal Kingdom. Again, they'd never been, so they had no idea what to expect. And
at this point, I've already determined that Kat really likes to plan things. And I've already shared this information with Ben, and I was like, look, she kind of really doesn't like it when we spring stuff on her, this, that, and the other. And Ben goes, yeah, I don't care. And
I didn't. I'm like, neat.
And so the thing is that
cool.
The only thing that I was allowed to a certain extent to tell Kat about anything that we were about to do was look, this is a show. Look, this is a ride. Hey, this is a roller coaster. But that's about it. So, which was great because then that would calm her down a little bit, but very well knowing that this particular roller coaster does not always go forward. And now, Disney's not known for having these thrill rides. That's not their shtick. So she's not expecting anything along those lines.
But she knows it's a roller coaster.
But knows it's a roller coaster.
I asked if there were any big drops.
She asked if there was any big drops.
Ben told me no.
And Ben said no.
Yeah, I did. Actually, on that one, I blatantly lied.
He just straight blatantly lied all the way around. For those of you who are not familiar with Everest,
a big drop, I'd say it's a medium drop.
For those
big for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Those of you who are not familiar with Everest, the whole idea is that there's a Bigfoot type creature on there, a Yeti. You kind of go up a big hill, whatever, and you kind of go down and you go around and you kind of come up to this area and then you stop.
Because the Yeti has ripped apart the track.
The tracks are just all right in front of you. It also looks like people have kind of gotten stuck there before and maybe thrown some trash over the side or lost a couple hair bands or anything along those lines. That they just sort of got out of the train and possibly walked away. And so we get up to this point and we stop and she goes, "What? What's going on?"
And Carrie Ann goes, "Well, the track appears to be broken." And she's like, "What?
What do you mean?" And
well, we can't go that way.
And Ben goes, I guess we'll just have to get out now. We'll have to wait for them. And she's like, what do you mean, you guys? I was like, yeah, no, look at it. Somebody lost a hair tie over there. And she's like, no, and it didn't matter because at that point we started going backwards and we go backwards and into the dark. And she was freaking out.
Quickly, mind you. They don't do it slowly. They're like, cool, you're going that way now.
She's not happy. And we're in the dark and she's like, and I was like, whoa, that never happens. Which she does not like at all in any way, shape, or form. And you kind of hang there for a second and then you start going forward again and you go forward again in the dark and in different path than what you had just previously taken. And she starts going, fuck you guys! At Disney, which is also amazing.
Little kids behind her.
The two of us are laughing so hard, we're both crying.
No, the three of us are laughing hard.
True. Doug's also laughing.
Tim is enjoying the crap out of this.
Heartily. It's at that point that you get this, like, what we call disco Yeti, because these lights start flashing at things, and it looks
the
like
Yeti at the end is broken.
It's
so
supposed to like come down and look like it's
supposed to grab at you, but they broke the pedestal. So
That's
like,
not
instead of
what's
that,
happening.
just shine a light on it.
She's screaming in the back behind us. We are laughing our absolute asses off, and I'm like, she's gonna kill us. And he's like, I know.
I was like screaming and cursing and crying all at the same time because it was cold. So the cold wind was going into my eyes, and I couldn't even control my tear ducts.
Like, she couldn't breathe.
Screaming down my face.
She couldn't.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she still wanted to do it again.
And on that vacation, we rode it 3 more times.
Yeah.
I mean, I still screamed my head off.
And this was your honeymoon?
Yeah.
My
Essentially,
goodness
yes.
gracious.
Yep.
Well, we didn't get like our honeymoon when we got married because I was in the middle of working. So we like got married on a Monday, had Tuesday and Wednesday to ourselves, and then Thursday was back home, and I had shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I love Travis. These guys are great. They get going off about cauliflower, and I would. I like how it stops there too. And I would. Yeah. We get to fill in the blank.
A little bit of a kofefe moment, and I would ... love it.
Love it.
I think he did that for dramatic effect. I would love it.
Worked out favor.
Yeah.
All right, no, seriously, we should be done. I've ordered the tickets. Thank you, everyone. People are complaining about us talking about Disney. Dude,
oh, that's really too bad.
It comes as a package.
It's so sad that your life is that terrible that you just don't like Disney.
Whoa!
Wow.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Thank you all. It was fun and a pleasure. We'll see you next week. Actually, Orion Span is going to be awesome. They do the private space station, so I'm really excited for that particular one. That's going to be really cool. So,
yeah, that should be interesting.
See you guys next week. Bye.